Lower Saucon Township Council meeting. Today's date is Wednesday, February 21st, 2024, and the time is 6:37. Apologize for the delay. Can we have a roll call, please?
Ms. DeLeo?
Here.
Mr. Bedonis?
Here.
Mr. Croce?
Here.
Ms. Antaf-Badera?
Here.
Ms. Red?
Here.
Everybody's here.
Okay, can we all stand for the pledge of allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'd like to announce that council did meet in executive session. I'll go over each item by itself. First, we have the conflict of interest for the solicitor, and I'd like to make a motion to resolve any issue with regard to any potential conflict of interest with regard to the solicitor and the Borough of Hellertown Borough Council on its behalf and on behalf of the township. Council hereby waives any conflict of interest relating to Stephen N. Gaduzian and/or Gaduzian and Associates in representing Lower Saucon Township with regard to any litigation or other interaction with the Borough of Hellertown or any other related entity, including but not limited to the Hellertown Area Library. And that's my motion. Would there be a second?
May be
I
recognized.
second.
And
Jason has to be recognized.
not at this moment. So it's been seconded by Priscilla, motion by Priscilla and Victoria, and now I'll open it up to council discussion. Jason?
Thank you. The public should know that there were multiple violations of the Sunshine Law that took place in executive session. Among them is this matter that is before the public right now. This item does not deal with litigation. This item also does not deal with personnel matters. This deals with waiving a conflict to allow Steve Gaduzian to represent Lower Saucon Township while he would also be representing Hellertown Borough. As the public may know, Lower Saucon Township and Hellertown are at odds in current litigation. In fact, I think there's multiple litigation that touches upon Hellertown. To that point, Mr. Gaduzian wouldn't even give me a straight answer as to whether or not he spoke with representatives of Hellertown with regard to the proposal that he prepared and submitted to this council, requesting that this council provide him with a waiver of the conflict of interest. And under the rules of professional conduct that apply to all attorneys, specifically Rule 1.7, I believe that Mr. Gaduzian cannot represent this township as well as Hellertown Borough. I brought this up previously when the majority of this council, Priscilla De Leon, Victoria Hoptoff, Cordero, and Laura Ray, brought up Mr. Gaduzian as a replacement to the replaced solicitor. Rule of Professional Conduct 1.7, Conflict of Interest, current clients, except as provided in paragraph B, a lawyer shall not represent a client if representation involves a concurrent conflict of interest. A concurrent conflict of interest exists if there is a significant risk that the representation of one or more clients will be materially limited by the lawyer's responsibilities to another client, a former client, or a third person, or by a personal interest of the lawyer. I believe that prevents Mr. Gaduzian from representing the township in any matter related to Hellertown. And to that point, to the extent that there would be any settlement negotiations that would take place between Lower Saucon Township and Hellertown, Mr. Gaduzian would be at odds with both clients in that matter, and that raises the question as to how he could represent diligently Lower Saucon Township's interests in that matter. I regret that this council decided to hold those discussions in an executive session outside the public eye. Again, it's a violation of the Sunshine Law. It's amazing to me that the majority of this council conducts itself this way. They ran a policy, here's their mailer, Saucon Valley together, working together for our community, ready to bring Saucon Valley communities back together through respect, cooperation, and transparency. The transparency that you had was behind that closed door. And if I didn't bring this to your attention now, nobody would know about it. So that's what I have to say on this. And I brought this up when you were hiring Mr. Gaduzian, this conflict of interest and the risk that he has that he could be reported to the disciplinary board for this. I have not undertaken any of those steps. Somebody in the public may. this council is unfortunately putting Mr. Gutsuzian in a very untenuous position, an unenviable position. It's very tenuous, and it's shocking. It's just shocking to me. So I hope the public pays attention and sees what's going on, and that's all I have.
Okay, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't know what Mr. Gutsuzian is thinking, even suggesting this. You shouldn't represent both municipalities when they're so close geographically and have these relationships. We need our own independent solicitor. Again, this is the second solicitor we've had this year, and there's some mistakes that the first one made that we rectify in the next meeting, I assume. And this is just another mistake. Paying $180 of taxpayer money. He's taking it from his neighbors. He's a Lower Saucon Township resident. $180 an hour for to operate with blatant conflicts, poor legal advice. It's disgraceful that even he doesn't see that he's taking money out of his neighbor's pockets for these shenanigans and ridiculousness of this conflict. And I'm no on this waiver. He should pick. He should either be Hellertown or Lower Saucon.
Okay, I'd just like to say for the record that council did meet, like I had said, at an executive session at 6 p.m. and it was attended by all 5 council members. And at any time, at no time did Mr. Bononis or Mr. Carochi decide to leave the illegal executive
Yes, I
session.
did. I walked out of it. You saw me walk out of it. So don't misconstrue. The public who was here saw me walk out of here. So don't say that I didn't walk out.
Why would we leave when we want to see what is happening? I mean, and to report to the public, which is what we've done. We've come out here and then done that. I mean, why would we put our heads in the sand when there's a violation of the Sunshine Act going in? And the responsible thing is, like you said, you come out and talk about it publicly.
Okay, Victoria, you're next.
Thank you. I don't agree with the characterizations made by Mr. Bononis and Mr. Carochi. I'm 100% comfortable with this particular motion made by Ms. DeLeon. I am comfortable with the fact that Mr. Gutsuzian represents the zoning hearing board of Hellertown, not the borough of Hellertown, and I'm inclined to vote yes.
Okay, Laura?
Yes, I don't think I'll make any comment, thank you.
Have you recognized again?
No.
Yes.
Okay,
I'm going to ask
You're elected officially here.
Yes, that's not
Don't let the gavel Nazi talk you
You're out
down.
of order.
Don't let the
Please
gavel
call
Nazi
the
talk
roll.
you down.
Mr. Gutsuzian can answer who signs the checks that he gets from Hellertown Borough, and are they from a Hellertown Borough?
Please call the
Maybe those
roll.
questions.
Mark, please call.
No, the gavel Nazi don't talk. The
Yes.
gavel Nazi
Public to
don't
know
talk.
that.
Let the
Mr.
gavel
Bononis,
Nazi-
how do you vote?
No.
I would like to ask Mr. Gutsuzian who signs those checks. Mr. Gutsuzian, can you answer that?
There is a roll call on the floor. It takes precedent
Can you
over
answer that, Mr.
discussion.
Gutsuzian?
Please
I'm allowed to
continue
speak,
the
I'm an
roll
elected
call.
official. You can be a gavel Nazi all you
You
want,
are
but you
out
can
of
still answer
order.
a question. You can still answer a question.
You are out of
Can you answer
order.
that
He is
question,
doing
Mr.
a roll
Gutsuzian?
call that is not
Jason
debatable.
asked a
It is a
legitimate
roll
question. Can you
call.
answer that question?
More
Mr.
It is
cover
a
up. Just more cover up.
Just more cover up?
Just more cover up.
More cover
We
up?
are
Can you
doing
answer
a
that
roll
question,
call.
Mr.
So let's go
Gutsuzian?
down the roll call, please.
Will you answer the question?
Mr. Carochi, how do you vote?
I want to answer my question.
You already had
I
an
wanna answer my
opportunity for
question.
council discussion. We're on to
There's no
roll
limit,
call.
there's no limit to council discussion and
Yes.
in the rules. There is
Where is
not.
that? Cite
There is not.
that. Where does it say that?
Where does it say that in the rule, that there's a limit to, and a council member can only speak once? Where does it say that in the rules?
Certainly not an ordinance.
It doesn't. It doesn't say that in the rule at all.
Okay, were you finished your roll
And,
call?
and I demand the right to speak. I was elected by the township residents, the right to speak.
Where were we in the roll call?
Gavel Nazi. You know, I would like Mr. Gutsuzian to answer my question, and then I'll vote. Who signs the checks?
I'm not answering. Yes.
You're not gonna answer?
No. Go.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna keep, you know, it's ridiculous.
Should we assume your vote's a no?
You should, what did he say back there, Jason? I'll look into that, or what did he say when we asked him about,
He said he couldn't give me a straight answer as to whether or not he had talked to Hellertown about
Okay, we're
this.
discussing this and it's totally out of order.
I can't give you a straight answer, right? I can't.
We're paying $180 an hour for
Please.
that. $100 an hour for a legal opinion.
Mr. Perotti, how do you vote?
I can't give you a straight answer like that, because Mr. Confucian is too afraid to answer a simple
Okay,
question.
it's either a yes or a no answer,
Who
it's
signs
very
his
clear.
check? Who signs his check, and Hellertown?
Laura,
Yes.
this motion passes.
I'd like to make a motion.
Go ahead.
I make a motion to authorize the solicitor to pursue potential settlement with regard to the Hellertown Area Library and related entities with the end goal of terminating the outstanding litigation between Lower Saucon Township and Hellertown Area Library and related entities. The solicitor is further authorized to direct Eckerd Siemens to not take any further action with regard to litigation and advise the court that the parties are engaged in potential settlement discussions and ask that all pending matters be held in abeyance. Do I have a second?
I'll second that. And council discussion, Jason?
Yes, thank you. We meet in executive session to discuss litigation, but yet you bring it out here into the public where you're talking about it, making a motion here to pursue a settlement. You're not talking about an executive session, so you blew the lid off of that. You blew any confidentiality off of those discussions. I will add this. For the public who wasn't back there with us, yet another violation of the Sunshine Act. They now want to recategorize, this is laughable, they now want to recategorize their illegal payment that they gave to the Hellertown Library.
That's not a topic. That's
No,
not
it's not on topic. Stop
Yes,
interrupting me.
It's not
Because
on
the
topic.
so you're going to shut me up because I'm
Yeah.
exposing
Yeah.
I'm exposing your Sunshine Act violation. You're trying to shut me up. I'm going to keep talking. So they now want to recategorize that payment under the guise of multiple invoices for which there was no contract or ever any agreement or meeting in the minds to pay. That $92,000 payment.
98.
No, 98, even better, more money. $98,000 payment, they now want to recategorize that as a gift. Before, it was for past due payments, now it's going to be a gift, even though that was never discussed with the public before, they want to change that. In addition to that, hello, am I speaking? You're not recognized, I'm sorry. Priscilla, can you control the crowd? Can you please run the meeting, can you control the crowd? Do we need to go into recess?
Yes.
Continue, Jason.
I will. So, you just heard how they approved this guy to be the guy negotiating for the township, but they haven't told them what they want in the settlement. They're going to go to the other side, and they're going to say, hey, we want to settle, what do you want? And they're going to negotiate a settlement, presumably on the terms of the other side, and there it is, the conflict of interest. It's right there. It's so blatant. It's beyond comprehension that they would actually make that motion under these circumstances and try to move forward with it. But let's talk about the Hellertown Library, since we're talking about trying to make a settlement with them. So let's revisit history. We asked them years ago for use. Hello, can you control the crowd?
I'm going to ask the audience to not speak.
Can you control the crowd? Can you control the crowd, please, Priscilla? You're running the meeting, I'm not running it. I'd like the respect that I deserve. I mean, I want the respect to be able to speak uninterrupted from having people in the crowd heckling. You have the policy, you acted as a policy as to how people are supposed to conduct themselves here, so either enforce it or don't.
I'm going to ask people in the audience to refrain from commenting. Whether or not you agree with what is being said by each individual member is your individual choice, but it is inappropriate for you to make comments or noises or hisses or anything else. Please don't do that.
So again, we got no contract. Years ago, we asked the library to give us usage data, financial information. They wouldn't give it to us. They said they couldn't give it to us. Why? I don't know. Then they would not give us board representation that was proportionate to Lower Saucon Township's residents for the amount of money that it was paying to the library. Then they secretly filed an application to the Office of Commonwealth Libraries to remove Lower Saucon Township's residents from its service area, and they didn't even have the decency to give Lower Saucon Township notice of that, even after Lower Saucon Township had given them almost $1 million over a number of years. They rejected a $50,000 payment that this council had approved and physically delivered to them. Peter Marshall, the former manager, and Tom, you were there, you delivered that check to them, no strings attached. Plus, we agreed to give them Lower Saucon Township share of the OCL money. They rejected a $250,000 offer that we made in the fall of 2023. And now you want to settle with them. They have emails from Hellertown Borough, the president, Tom Rieger, directing Kensel not to cooperate with Lower Saucon Township. We have emails from Tom Rieger acknowledging that the library is essentially the same as the borough, and the borough is broke as a dope. The borough is in the hole $2 million, and now you're going to help to bail them out by giving money to a library that has acted this way towards Lower Saucon Township and its residents. They've refused to respond to the right-to-know requests that were valid from different residents and individuals from the public. The Office of Open Records determined that HAL is a governmental entity subject to the right-to-know laws and must respond. And what do? They still refuse to respond. They appeal it to the Court of Common Pleas in Northampton County, and the Court of Common Pleas, the president judge, Judge Daly, issues an order saying, you must turn over this information, and they thumb their nose at the judge. It's beyond comprehension. I mean, they refused to participate in all of this. They were found to be in contempt. I mean, their former director left. There's a motion for sanctions that's pending against the Hellertown Library. And then, you look at the whiz kids that are running Hellertown, and the dumbasses on this council want to prop up this malfeasance. You got the Hellertown Borough Police Chief charged with stealing over $120,000. The prior chief resigned under cloudy circumstances. You got the mayor, but the same mayor now, who was overseeing the department then and is missing $120,000 in taxpayer money. There's an ongoing state attorney general investigation into the improprieties going on in Hellertown. It's all over state and national news. They can't even staff their own public services. They can't staff their own police department. They have gaps in their service. I'm talking about Hellertown, all right? You got the Dewey Fire Company embezzling, the treasurer formerly embezzled $400,000 to fuel a gambling addiction. You got a Hellertown Borough Council member and fire company administrator reportedly submitting false bills to the fire company. You got former employees stealing hundreds of dollars at Christmas Day from the Firemen's Club social. Their budget's upside down $2 million. It is utterly unconscionable that someone in this council would advocate rewarding this mismanagement, this malfeasance, and this corruption. It's stupid. This is stupid. This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And I've heard a lot of stupid things from some people on this council. This is by far the stupidest thing I have ever heard.
I'd like to speak.
Are you finished, Jason, now? Because I'm going to Tom.
If you're not finished,
I don't know.
take it to me.
Oh, the other thing. Throughout this process, this politicized process where the library was used as a lever, we had approached them about creating a regional library system in conjunction with the Southern Lehigh Library, Coopersburg Borough, and Lower Milford. And they wanted no part of this. They do not view library services for the greater good. Clearly they don't. By not participating in that process, we were talking about having guaranteed funding levels, having a regional library system that would have greater funding opportunities and resources that Hellertown would not need to depend upon. And they wouldn't participate in that process. We offered them a settlement on everything that is at issue with Hellertown, and they wouldn't participate in it. Why? Because they'd rather play politics. They would rather play politics, and they want Lower Saucon's money. That's what it comes down to. Now I'm done.
Okay, Tom?
Yeah, so we received an email from Gina DeSantis, and it says, I would like you to consider just getting over the HAL thing, the Hellertown Area Library. They have a library, and yes, they are 100% guilty of fraud in one way or another. I know this for a fact, because they used to offer library discount rates and avoidance of sales tax to citizens that join their friends group. But there's nothing you're going to accomplish by irritating Mr. Salt, who's on the board. And she says, in her opinion, he's a bit of a thug. But, how this relates to this, all of this is, I think they were committing a fraud by by avoiding the sales tax and selling the books. Our solicitor's wife was on the board of the Hellertown Area Library when this was going on. And the board apparently authorized this arrangement with the Friends group. So I think this settlement proposal came from Mr. Goodsuzi to cover this up, basically. We asked him, did anybody instruct you to write that settlement language that Victoria just read? He said no, that he took it on his own to do this. And you're covering up this fraud, basically, the fraud of avoiding the sales tax with this arrangement with the Friends, the fraud of not turning over legitimate emails or showing up to answer questions about why you didn't turn them over. That was the former library director that skipped town before she was deposed in this matter, is my understanding. And Mr. Goodsuzian and the Democrats on council just want to whitewash all this. And he says he doesn't have a conflict, and everything's above board. It's a cover-up, and the people that are complicit are Priscilla, Victoria, Laura, and most of all, you can't even call him a solicitor, we just call him whoever he is, a minimum wage attorney at best, Steve Goodsuzian.
Are you finished, Tom?
Yes, for now. I reserve my right to speak again, because the policy does not limit township council to one comment. There's nothing in the policy that states that.
Okay, well, it's my turn. So I feel that if you're in litigation with someone, that the two parties, the two solicitors in this case, would sit down and discuss how to come up with a settlement, and we would entertain listening to whatever that discussion is and go from there. We have to start somewhere, and I think this is a good start to get our relationships back. So I'm definitely in favor of this motion. With that, Victoria?
Thank you. I just want to make clear for the audience, because I know my motion was quite long, so I'm going to read it again. The motion is to direct the solicitor to pursue potential settlement with regard to the Hellertown Area Library and related entities, so that includes the OCL, and the borough to the extent it involves the Hellertown Area Library, with the end goal of terminating the outstanding litigation between Lower Saucon Township and the Hellertown Area Library and related entities. Again, the OCL and Hellertown Borough to the extent it relates to the Hellertown Area Library. The solicitor is further authorized, and this goes to a lot of questions people had about the special counsel we had been using in the year 2023 to pursue the related litigation against the OCL. So the solicitor is further authorized to direct Eckerd Siemens, who is that special counsel, to not take any further action with regard to litigation and advise the court, the federal court and the Northampton County courts that are involved, that the parties are engaged in potential settlement discussions, and ask that all pending matters be held in abeyance. So that means that any additional court proceedings that may have been scheduled from last year that would be coming up we're asking the court to hold those in abeyance. So I just want to reiterate that motion. I am proud to make this motion, and I thank the solicitor for preparing this.
The cover.
Okay, Laura?
Okay, yes, I think a lot of the things that were said here were a big mischaracterization of the whole situation of what has happened. I'm sure a lot of you realize that. I am also favorable to ending these litigations that have gone on and on for years. We just got updated numbers. I know we kept tallies going, so Eckerd Siemens alone has owed like $200,000 for going around in circles so far. So looking to end this. We want to reestablish our relationship. We do need library services. It has been known that there are no other libraries wanting to work with us. The regional thing is not an option in the way that it was presented. So that's my comments.
Have you recognized again?
Roll call, please.
All right, so I'm going to read an email that somebody from the public had sent to me regarding these matters. His name is Oscar
Roll
Ray.
call on the floor, it's
Township
not
Attorney, conflict
debatable.
of
Roll
interest.
call,
I believe
please.
Mr. Bonolis is 100% correct about conflict of interest, particularly since we have ongoing legal battles with Hellertown. It doesn't matter if it is a zoning board, it is Hellertown. Hellertown pays him, Hellertown influences him. That's the point. This is not good, this is corruption. That's an email that I received from Oscar Gray at 6:59 p.m. Priscilla DeLeon, Laura Ray, Tom Carochi, and Victoria Optop Cordero are also included on that email, so that's part of the record. And Ms. Ray has not identified any of these supposed mischaracterizations, and with regard to her comments that there was no other library options, I disagree. There were ongoing discussions with Southern Lehigh Library, Southern Lehigh Library in Upper Saucon Township and the Southern Lehigh School District about cooperating on a larger scale with the Southern Lehigh Library.
I would like to say that,
Roll
I'd
call,
like to say that the $200,000 is part, was that Eckertson Seaman charge was because the Hellertown Library wasn't cooperating and turning over emails, wasn't sitting for depositions and showing up for court hearings to delay things. And these are the people that the Democrats up here want to reward, and our solicitor wants to cover up for. This is not a settlement offer. This is a cover-up offer. This is a cover-up, so they don't have to turn those emails over, so they don't have to explain their funding, and so they don't have to get into why they were selling books tax-free to friends of the library.
Okay, can we have a roll call,
How do you
please?
vote? Mr. Benonis?
Yeah, maybe the Attorney General will look into those issues as they're looking into the missing money from the Hellertown.
Jason, there's roll call on the floor. He just called your name.
What's the motion?
Roll call.
What's the
What's the
motion?
motion?
For the settlement.
Well, you want Victoria to read it 3 times now?
I don't know what the term, I didn't hear, I thought it was a.
I make a motion to authorize the solicitor to pursue potential settlement, and I'm just repeating it for your benefit. You know the rest of it, you have it in front of you. It's in the letter. Are we doing a roll call?
Yes, but he's being called on.
Well, thank you.
Well, he's reading that, Mark, why don't you move on to the next person?
Ms. Optop-Cordero?
Yes.
Mr. Carochi?
No.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis?
So Victoria said that it's in the letter, and Mr. Gutsuzian has 2 proposals in the letter that he undertook without instruction from his counsel. So I'm not clear which one is part of the motion. There's a paragraph on page 2, there's a paragraph on page 3, so maybe you can clarify that for me before I vote.
It was the one that was read into the record twice, it's on page 3. The sum and substance was on page 3. Obviously, whatever the motion exactly was would be controlled by whatever the motion was stated.
Well, which is it? She said that it's what's
I'll
contained in
read
the
it
letter.
again.
No.
She said, hold on, I'm not done. She said what's contained in the letter. I'm asking, there's 2 proposals in the letter. I don't think this letter was ever produced to the public. It's certainly not part of the record here that the public has seen. And Mr. Gutsuzian just clarified that the motion is what's contained on page 3, and then he qualified that by saying, generally speaking. So which is it, what is contained on page 3, or is it generally speaking? If it's generally speaking, I want to know exactly what the motion is.
She made the motion twice.
I asked her for clarification as to what it is, and she hasn't answered that question.
She doesn't have to.
I don't think Ms. Ray is right.
And just to be clear, the motion is what Ms. Optop-Cordero said, not what is on the piece of paper. Whatever she said today, that's the motion. And you heard it twice.
So I'm going to say no, because nobody will answer that question.
Motion passes 3-2.
Okay, moving on, public procedure. At all meetings of council, regular or special, interested citizens with legitimate matters to lay before the council shall be granted the right and privilege to address council. Council may prescribe procedures for citizen presentation to ensure decorum at all times and to prohibit personal or insulting language, total irrelevances, and harassment, either on the part of members of the council or members of the assembly at the meeting. Council passed Resolution 31-2024 on January 2nd, 2024. There's copies out in the hallway in that little shelf thing. So it basically boils down to, after each agenda item, the public gets a 5-minute comment period, and at the end of the meeting, you have a 5-minute public comment period on non-agenda items. So if someone could remind me when the minute is approaching, I'd appreciate it. So, moving on then, we have developers items. The zoning hearing board application for the 412 Commercial Center at 1865 and 1883 Lightsville Road and a 1980 Springtown Hill Road, that has been taken off the agenda for tonight. So if you were here to hear anything about that, it was taken off.
Yeah, the applicant sent in a letter this afternoon, late this afternoon, that they are withdrawing their zoning hearing board application.
So,
So there will not be a zoning hearing board meeting on Monday, the 26th of February.
Have
okay.
you recognized?
On what agenda? No, you're not going to be
On
recognized.
what was just discussed by the township
It's been
manager.
taken off the agenda.
I'm going to be recognized. I'd like to be
You are
recognized.
not on the agenda. No, discussion of the vistas at Long Ridge Development,
All right, so
Long Ridge Drive and Royal Valley Lane. The township
Mr.
received,
Hudson just said that that matter is going to be taken off the zoning hearing board. I think the public should know that the application that's going to be before that zoning hearing board, when it is ultimately there, is a matter where this township rezoned a stretch of Route 412 for commercial purposes to increase the tax base for this township. And in turn, St. Luke's Hospital, a nonprofit, has purchased that property and would not be subject to taxation. So those that are interested in the tax revenue to the township and the implications from this project should consider participating in that zoning hearing board meeting.
moving on, discussion on vistas at Long Ridge Development, and I apologize, you want to step up here, please? The township received complaints from some of the homeowners in the Long Ridge Development living on Long Ridge Drive and Royal Valley Lane. These residents have returned to continue to address council with their concerns. So could you please state your name for the record and give us updates, please?
Sure, my name is Matthew Manili, M-I-N-I-E-L-L-Y.
Carrie Magrams, C-A-R-Y-M-A-G-A-R-A-M.
And we also have with us Caroline Othoff, she's lot 7, who, she was not part of my data set 2 weeks ago, but she is joining us in the audience tonight. So what's happened in the last 2 weeks? Well, we shortened the meeting time at least 5 hours. Sorry. Trying to unite you guys because we got some serious issues. We're all staring down the shotgun of $1 million loss. So it's really of concern to us. So Miss, is your last name Othoff? As well, yes. So lot 7, so she called me after the last meeting and she heard about our presentation and she's also having the same issues. So grading issues, excessive ponding in her backyard, worried about it going into her basement and so forth. She actually took the financial steps to actually move all of her exterior utilities so they weren't damaged by the stormwater runoff issues. So that cost her several $1,000s to do that as well. Septic concerns, she's got the same septic that I have. It's a drip system. She was not presented with any documentation on that as well. So I'd like an update if we've made any progress on that situation. I do think that the saturation levels around the manholes in her yard are tangible, if you will, so you can feel that there's probably a leak there, like there is with mine. Electrical issues, she has electrical issues, her breakers trip frequently without notice. Not due to storms, not due to anything, HVAC issues like Mr. Magram's home. Her child lives on the 2nd floor, and during the summer, she struggles to get the room below the mid-80s from a temperature perspective. So it's just not a safe environment for her child. And again, the typical subflooring trampoline issues. I had reported at the last meeting that my septic was fixed.
I would like to report to you that I unknowingly lied to you. It is not fixed. So we're batting 0 for 4. And we continue to have leakage of more than 130 gallons per day. So I would like to, this has been shared with township manager, so if that wants to go into the record or whatever, but this is a report from Chris Taylor. He works for Hanover, is that the right name? Yeah, Chris Taylor, he works at Hanover Engineering. He's the septic enforcement officer, and he's been monitoring the system at my lot, and we're currently discharging, there's a leak of 130 gallons per day out of my septic system. I actually got a note from the Builders Council about 5 minutes before the meeting that they're basically waiving any, they're not gonna participate. They feel that they don't have any liability in the fix. So that's exciting. So they've lawyered up. We have as well, but they don't know that necessarily unless they watch the video. So the other thing that I'd like to draw your attention to is that while the contractors were attempting in 3 of the 4 fixes, they discharged several thousand gallons of septic fluid into the forest from my tank versus using a licensed waste hauler. That's not only unethical, but it's illegal, and I think they should be fined. And we actually have photographic evidence of that, which has been shared with Mr. Taylor as well.
Yeah, that should definitely be looked into.
I mean, it's a clown show over there, and I'll talk more about that in a second. But I've had to monitor the meters on my septic twice a day. I had to shovel a 100-foot path in a 15-inch snowstorm so I could go take a picture, because these guys don't believe what's happening, and they're accepting no responsibility for it. You know, they wanted to, on Monday, inspect the tank again, and thankfully, Hanover Engineering stepped up and said that there's structural integrity issues with the tank at this point, and we are asking for a replacement. And this is when the builders stepped back and said, hey, we're not playing ball. So now we've got a leaky tank that can contaminate our well system and so forth. So anyways, also as part of this agreement, and I do thank Mr. Bananas for drawing our attention to certain paragraphs, I think it's 14 and 15, regarding township's potential right to litigate. It also is part of this this contract that the owner signed, the owner aka the builder. The owner shall retain an installation contractor who has the appropriate training and is licensed by and approved by the manufacturer. Neither, and Mr. Taylor has investigated this, neither of the contractors that are working on this and installing these systems in our development are licensed by the manufacturer. That's a problem. So what are we going to do about it? Since the last meeting 2 weeks ago, that Friday, we had one home that took on more water in their basement, and later last weekend another one. So we've had 2 homes with measurable water in their basement. Two homes have had major electrical issues, mine and Carrie's. We actually had a power outage Friday morning, and again, my panel doesn't turn back on. Once it goes off, it doesn't go back on. I have to go manually reset all the breakers. I did speak with David from Key Codes today. He's never heard of such a thing. He's been investigating it for 2 or 3 days, and he's got UL so-and-so involved now to continue the investigation. But also on last Friday night, Carrie's house, like half of it went dark. He resetted the panels and they didn't come back on. So there's electrical issues, and these are what concern us most. I mean, is it going to take a fire to take out a house? You can't see behind the walls, and I think Mr. Magarum can attest that he's had people, certified electricians come that quote unquote said they wouldn't have electrified the house this way to some manner.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the 2 separate licensed electricians and
You need to speak into the microphone, please. Sorry.
So we had 2 different electricians come to our house, just speaking on the work that was done by the subcontractor Ratelli hired, and mentioned that the additives used lazy, incomplete, saying he was getting anywhere from 2 to 3 extra full turns with a screwdriver for everything from our electric panel downstairs to just light plates and outlets all over the house. So it's hazardous to say the least.
So yeah, this is what concerns us most. And then we had one home that had a well pump failure, which was likely due to the electrical configuration. So we've got major electrical issues. Again, don't know who has oversight of that? But there's continues to be serious problems in our development. Today, too, I don't know if anyone knows what mechanical compaction is, but I learned about it today. So during building, when you backfill the soil and before you put concrete over it, you're supposed to compact it, right? With, you know, through some mechanical means. So today, at lot 13, both in the floor, foundation in the basement and in the garage, they just threw the dirt in, threw the rocks on top, and poured concrete on top of it. So I don't, again, these guys are running around unsupervised. They don't know what they're doing, and so what happens is, you know, soil is made up of 25% air, 25% water, and obviously in the winter, water becomes ice and it's bigger. So when it compacts, what happens is you create voids in the foundation. So I just called a few people that specialize. This is $25,000 to fix a garage that has a void in it. So this is what we're looking forward to. Especially lot 13, literally backfilled, poured within an hour of each other. And I actually, you know, Chris Taylor's a geologist as well, and he knows a lot about this subject, and we discussed it at length. And these guys continue to build structurally unsound homes, not to code. And now they've thrown up 3 homes, is it, what, in the last 2 weeks? 3 homes, and like they're pouring foundations in 18-degree weather. It's a problem. So we're here to help. I don't know what you guys have found out since the last meeting, but it's clear by the builder's words, actions, and quite frankly their inactions that they don't need to play by the rules, right? They don't think they need to play by the rules. They're visitors to our community. I know we've got other development going on in this community. Those developers live in this community. You know, these people just, they're non-responsive to anything that we want. So I'm wondering, you know, as the list of last time, if there's been any discussion with the builder, can the township enforce, you know, the runoff issues, the drain issues? I know that there were some concerns that whether or not you guys have the authority to enforce the stormwater plans. I mean, my lot specifically is off 3 feet. We've got a melt coming up. I'm going to take on water again. Everyone knows that the spring rains, and so forth. How can we enforce the coding issues? Simply saying that we've got key codes or some other agency doing it, you know, we'd like some, you know, that doesn't transfer accountability, in my opinion. I don't know what to do with the non-disclosure of this septic agreement. I think I know what to do, but I don't necessarily want to say it in this forum. You know, and have you guys had meetings with Ratelli? I know that was potentially, have there been meetings with Ratelli?
We didn't have one meeting with Ratelli. We got one meeting set up in the time frame that we were able to get everyone together. We talked about many of the issues, and they're going to give us some information back from the information that they had.
Did we establish a timeline on that, or just like, because they're very open-ended when they say they're going to get information back? Carrie's got a timeline of your 30 days.
Yeah, March 29th is my 1 year when I essentially lose all recourse for our contract.
Did not get a date, but from the conversation, they were going to work on pulling things together pretty quickly was how I felt.
That's
This new for the Builders Council, you mean the builders?
lawyer.
Oh, okay, all right. That's what I thought you meant. I just
Builder lawyer.
wondered. Okay.
You better be ready for 50. What I would say.
Does anybody else in the township have anything to report? Brian or?
I sent out all the grading plans that I had to everyone, so I was working on that. You know, hoping to have council tonight authorize Brian to come out and review all grading plans when he can. We still have, most of the houses are on temporary occupancy permits because the grades weren't ready to be done at that time, so we still have some escrow for that to help with Brian take care of the
Okay,
review and
so
all the.
you need a motion then?
So what does that mean? May I just
May I ask you, what does that mean? Like, so when he comes out and reviews, so you've seen my as-built, I think Carrie has an as-built, a few others are getting as-bills. Is that?
You could share those with Brian?
Yeah, it'd be very helpful before I go out, if council directs me to go out and look at the grading, those as-bills, because they are, just so council understands, I am more than happy to do that, take the approved on-site grading plan, go out and see if I think that's not as accurate as an instrument, obviously, giving the opinion of my eye versus what an instrument would actually pick up. So any information like that you could share would be.
So you have one, and a few other people have one, so we will get those, we'll just route them through Mark.
Yeah,
That would be for a process point.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion then to authorize Hanover Engineering to do the review on the as-built for the grading,
Yeah, review the on-site grading.
on-site grading, did I say that right?
I'll second.
Is there, okay, so Priscilla and Jason?
I just have a few questions.
I do too, but go ahead, Tom.
Go ahead. Council discussion, Jason?
The one thing we didn't hear, and I'm not expecting this from you, but when we left the meeting last time, and I know we were here for a long time, and I appreciate how late you stayed because the issue is important to you and it's important to me. And I would prefer to have greater urgency from the township addressing your issues because you explained to us the duration of the problems that you've had, as well as the upcoming deadline that you have with regard to your warranty claims. In addition to that, I brought up the fact that we've got spring coming and we've got, the rainy season and it's only going to get worse for you. So the one thing that we discussed in the last meeting was what levers does the township have to exert some pressure on the builder? I haven't heard anything yet tonight. Maybe that's still coming. But one of the things that we had talked about was does the township have the ability to exert any financial pressure on the developer and the builder with regard to this? And I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if the township manager or the solicitor or anybody else has looked into that issue as to whether or not there's any financial. I know we talked about like $100,000 bond or something like that, which is peanuts compared to the amount of damages that you're going to be.
It's $150,000 to regrade my lot.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's a drop in the bucket. I could see to the extent this plays out, I could see the developer and builder saying, we'll wait, we'll try to get away and give it $100,000 to save $1 million on the other end, or whatever the cost of repairs are. So maybe there's an answer to that question. Maybe they haven't looked into it. I don't know, but I think it should be looked into, and it should be any sort of financial leverage that we can exert. We should try to do that. The other question I have is, have you looked into, so that you've got a developer, you've got the general contractor, and you've got subcontractors. So each one of these subcontractors has a responsibility for excavating, electrical, plumbing, septic, health, things like that. I don't know if you know who those subcontractors were that were employed by the general contractor, and if you've reached out to them for any recourse that you may have. I don't know, I'm just pointing that out.
We do know who they are, but we don't have a contract.
I understand that, but you may be a third-party beneficiary. I'm not providing you legal advice for this, but maybe your attorney can look into this. But I'm just putting that out there for this food for thought. I hope the township
We hope so too.
responds quickly.
We hope so too. They're almost, as we live there now, it almost seems like they're putting the homes up more haphazardly because they know, they know that we contacted this body, right? They know, right? So.
We're quick to write a check for a fire truck that doesn't fit in a firehouse, okay? But yet we're not quick. We're not quick to address an issue that could prevent a fire that would require the fire department and fire truck from actually coming to your property. So I think our focus may be a little bit off, and hopefully we can get refocused and look at important things.
No, I appreciate that.
Okay, Tom?
I wish some of this council would take this more seriously. My God, if this is, the landfill wasn't graded appropriately, you'd never hear the end of it. But Brian, we have this money in escrow, but the developer put that in escrow. Am I correct about that?
Well, you have a series of different escrows. You have, I believe it's a letter of credit from the developer.
Correct.
To do the unfinished improvements like put the very parts on the road. Then as the individual lots come in for building permits, you have escrow that's escrowed for the grading plan review. You also then, if a home is ready for occupancy and it's winter and they maybe don't have the site graded, they post a certain amount of money, maybe 6,000, maybe 10,000, to ensure that they come back and they finish the grading when the weather dries out. So there's a series of different escrows that the township may be holding.
But when, these escrows close when they get the CO
That's my understanding.
Right now, most of them have temporary, Matt's is the only one that is fully closed.
though? So the other ones are temporary,
Yeah,
so we can hold that money,
Ironic.
that money can stay in escrow.
Here's what the model has.
That money can stay in escrow because it's a temporary, there's no
Yeah.
permanent CO.
Right, that's my understanding, because Matt has the model home, was built first, so
What we are doing, we're displaying all the problems that you could have with a home. It's-
I'm concerned that the township is not, you know, I think on the front end, we're very good about looking at these plans, you know, planning and zoning if need be. But we're not looking at what so we're looking at what the developers are presenting at that stage. But we're not really looking at what the builders are doing on the back end before these COs are issued. Is that fair to say?
I think the ordinance doesn't provide as solid of a back end as the front end.
And what do you think that can be done about that? I mean, we do have other developments in the township, one in particular, off of Spring Valley Road, and, you know, that's, well, I trust the developer there, because they are local. It's my understanding those lots will be sold, and individual builders will be able to come in and build a house for a homeowner, or a lot of them. You know, what can be done? I mean, I doubt all townships have these same type of issues. I bet you there's some townships that are very strict on what builders have to do in accordance with the plan. Basically follow the
Yeah,
plan.
we're the only one in the Lehigh Valley, well, I don't want to say the only one, but I checked the upper and lower,
Milford.
Milford's, Upper Saucon. We're the only one that doesn't require the as-built as a contingency of the CO. And so if my escrow of 6,000 or 10,000 was released on the grading plan review, I'd be very curious as to who did that grading plan review, because Brian, as you came out, you could, well, we didn't have a transit, you could see with the naked eye, the grading issues.
So, I mean, is that something Hanover would recommend the township adopt?
Well, I think you have a series of different things you could enact. Matt's right that there are communities that have as-built plan requirements. And then a review of the as-built plans. There are some communities that require an as-built plan and a certification from the designer that they actually went out and looked at it and it was graded in accordance with the intent of their design. There are a series of things you could do to ensure that. Just bear in mind that we have also, over the years, heard complaints of, well, now I gotta pay for it. My contractor was wonderful. Now I gotta pay for an as-built, I gotta pay for the township to review the as-built, when I didn't have any problems. So we have heard.
I would have traded the $1,000 for the as-built for the $30,000 uninsured loss I've had
And,
all
and
along.
all I'm trying to advise, you'll get that other.
Yeah, and I understand that, but we also used to be a township 4 years ago that had 2 engineering firms that would review the exact same thing on everything that came through the door. For some reason, we did. We put an end to that and just went with Hanover. It seems like we're dropping the ball on the back end. We're asking developers to spend a lot of time and money getting their plans correct and in accordance with the township ordinances. And then the builders can come in and apparently do whatever they want, and there's not much recourse the township currently has. I think I'd be looking at recommendations from Hanover as to how to change that, with the rest of the council.
Upper Saucon has a pretty involved process that involves as-built. So if that's something that council wants to look at.
Yeah, I'd like to know,
I'm sorry, he's talking.
I'm sorry.
Before we went.
I'm gonna go get it.
Well, and yes, after we all go.
So Upper Saucon has a they have a
As-built
stringent
requirement, yes.
as-built requirement that we could look at. I mean, I think, I'd recommend the council, review that maybe next time. Our planning commission maybe review that, to see, because I think there's 13 or 14 lots off of Spring Valley Road that are gonna be built on. And I'm more concerned, I'm concerned that, the township does whatever they can to help these residents by holding the money in escrow and holding the builder's feet to the fire as much as we can. That's first and foremost. And my second thing is, let's try and prevent residents from going through something similar in the future.
There's already 2 or 3 that are in that pipeline, so I don't know, I'm not, again, not providing advice, but I don't know what the permitting requirements are or whatever, but we've got major issues, and whatever levers you guys can pull would really help us. Like, I like to talk to people, and I've called them, they refuse to talk to us. Everything's gotta be an email.
And my other thing is, why are we using these same firms that sign the COs for Mr. Matt's property? Like, and you told me something about the firm. They're not licensed or something like that?
Well, no, so the firms, the contractor that was contracted to put in my septic was not a certified contractor for that specific septic system.
That's
Because
just-
it's not a traditional system, it's all computerized, it's got pumps all over when I first moved in, I thought I had an irrigation system because stuff was blowing all over the place. It turns out they didn't even install the drip lot, right, so.
Well, but who issued the CO? A firm that we hired, a third-party firm that we hired, is that correct?
I don't get involved in the buildings. You're talking about,
For-
we're talking about two different things.
For his property?
Well, the septic is by Chris.
Right.
The CO, the inspections for your property was
Keycodes.
Keycodes.
But he actually admitted, David was surprised that when I said that my furnaces weren't connected to the propane, I heard it was a long pause. He couldn't believe that to be the case.
If David has been in touch with, I've gotten David
He
in
did
touch
call
with
me
Matt,
today, he's investigated.
work with you, that's the guy that's working with him for the electrical. and
But
everything.
this is one of the firms we recommend, the township recommends.
Yes, yep.
Well, and there's another firm, we recommend 2 firms?
So David has only done, he did my house and one other house of the 8 that are currently occupied. You guys have switched to another firm, he confirmed that.
We have 2 firms, correct. Rotelli switched to a different firm, and they're using the base engineer.
Based on Rotelli's competency, the fact that they fired these guys,
I don't think it was a timing issue. They wanted quicker inspections, and base is a bigger outfit that could give them quicker inspections. Both those companies said as they did all the inspections, everything was good.
well, so
Yeah.
Dave, just for clarity on that, David, their firm is not actually, so I have a new panel. It's made by Leviton, it's not a traditional panel, so again, it's, I hate to say it, it's an upgraded panel, which is not functioning correctly. So actually, their firm, nor David, has expertise in how that panel works. I do not have a.
Correct in how it works, but whether it was installed per code is a different, that's a different discussion.
To me, that means.
Well, you have a smart panel. So the smart panel is how it works. Smart is not code. Code wasn't installed for code.
Does that mean that the 4 bolts were put on a wall to hold it up? Like, I don't know what that means, because
Well,
I would think that there
wires
would
were
be.
put into the right spot, and they inspect all that. I mean, if it's inspected, it's inspected per
Do
code.
they do power surge testing and so forth and hit all the buttons?
I know that they go around, I can't answer that, but if they're certifying that it was installed per code, they're doing what they're required by the building code to inspect that panel. Now, whether it works.
It works, because we're all having it. I don't know,
With
is
the
your
smart
panel-
panel, I don't know how the smart panel works.
Yeah, I have the exact same panel that he has, and we have identical issues, and it's interesting, Rotelli agreed to put a certain protection for him, but not for me. We're dealing with morally bankrupt individuals, people who have no regard for the citizens of this town, they only care about one thing, and one thing only, that's money. That's the only language they speak. They just sent Matt a letter 10 minutes before this to tell him that he is now on the hook for his septic tank replacement. Clock is ticking for me. I see Caroline's house, see the siding on her house warping, something that my wife and I have been reporting for weeks with zero resolution. Like I said last time here, I don't sleep at night because of what I'm going through, and then what is coming around the corner, which I don't know, is a fun new adventure every week for myself and my wife, whose mental health is degrading by the minute dealing with these charlatans. So I implore you, pull whatever levers are available. The one language they do speak is money. The one way you can get through to them is to take it away from them or deny access of it to them, because that's all that they care about.
I certainly don't think we should be recommending firms that aren't doing the job. Doing the job. Well, good luck. I'm sorry to hear that not much progress has been made in 2 weeks, but hopefully some other council members will have some ideas to get things going.
Are you finished, Tom?
Yes.
Okay, I would like to say that on the record that as a council person, I do care about your situation and I do put it in high priority, but like I would anybody else that's having issues like this. So, and I know the township's been doing what they were doing to help you and will continue that and, you know, try to figure this out the best they can. And I made the motion about the grading, which is what we're discussing now, but I also think that and we can't, the sunshine law limits us for certain motions, but I think that hearing what I've just heard about the as-bills, I think this should be on our next agenda. So I don't need a motion to do that, but I'd like to put that on and see where we can go with that. So might not help some of your problems, but going forward for somebody else,
At this point, I just want it fixed. As Carrie mentioned, it's affecting everything, right? I've had to cancel business trips. It's affected his performance at work. It's awful. It affects your marital relationship. It's not a good situation. And what you're gonna have, there's already one condemned house up in our community from a previous developer. What you're gonna have is you're gonna have a bunch of $1 million homes that are empty. We're just gonna walk away. So I do appreciate that we're actually uniting the council in some aspects here, so thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to open it up to Victoria next.
Thank you. I just want to, I think the commenter spoke that there is a lot owned in that development by my sister, Caroline Optoff. And I, as a council person, am subject to certain rules and regulations about what I can and cannot do. One of them is called the Ethics Act, and the Ethics Act specifically precludes me from making any decision that would have any pecuniary, meaning money benefit, for myself or members of my immediate family. And my understanding is that immediate family is defined as my children, my spouse, or my parents. I don't believe my sister is included with that, but with this specific development, I haven't contacted the ethics department yet to find out whether or not my vote would, whether I can vote. So for the specific motion and the second, I've heard some, sounds like council is in unison on this particular topic, but I'm going to abstain.
Okay, Laura?
All right, yes, so this is very
You
concerning.
need to move your microphone up or something. Does it tilt up?
I hear it echoing, okay. Can you guys hear me back there? Yes. All right, so this is a very concerning issue. I don't know all the legal recourse that we have that we can take. I hope that we're doing everything possible. But my thought last time, and again this time, I would circle to the code inspecting agencies. And I know I heard Mark say that they only need to check that things are built to code and that's it. And I don't know that that's totally accurate. I think, I mean, I know other things when a permit's issued, they not only check that it was installed to code, but they do some testing to verify, you know, whether it be pressure testing on lines, if there's, you know, like propane lines, you have to check leakage, electrical, like you said, the surge testing. So I think there is testing that needed to be done, and I don't know if it has been done. I would certainly like to see all those signed off code inspection reports of who's doing them, because you know, in my mind, I'm thinking, you know, did they just sign off on them because they didn't feel like doing it that day? They, you know, they get paid to do it and just sign the paper. So I think we should look into those code inspection agencies is one thing we can do, and certainly come up with different agencies if, you know, I don't know if base engineering, you said they did some of them as well, or not yet for inspections.
Yes, base was one of the
And
topics.
key codes, so I think we should look into those things. That's.
Yeah,
that's
I mean, I appreciate your comments. I think they did do drive-by, lick it and stick it type of inspections like we do on a car.
Yeah, that's not what you do on a house.
Okay, I guess if, Mark, could we have a roll call, please?
Yeah, I just wanted to be heard again, very briefly.
We're
Um,
on a roll call.
So,
Let me speak.
all right, do your roll call, and I'll speak when you're done.
Okay, you can speak
No,
when you're done.
do your roll call.
Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Atascadero, you're going to abstain. Mr. Caroci?
Yes.
Ms. Ray?
Yes,
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Manones?
Yes.
Motion passes. 4-0.
Maybe what's concerning to me is that this township government, municipal government, is here to protect the public. And I think they've let everybody down in your development based upon the information that you're providing to us. I don't know how you can get a CO for a home without having heat. Okay, that's first one. I mean, the basic necessities of life are, you know, heat, water, shelter. So I'm not sure how that happens. I think this council needs to do an in-depth analysis of this. I don't know when the ordinance was enacted. I mean, these are the rules that are supposed to protect the public. These are the ordinances. I don't know when the ordinance was enacted that did not require an as-built. Priscilla, maybe you do, you were on council for a long time. I don't know when the ordinance was enacted. I don't know the circumstances that went to that. But I would like to direct the township manager and the staff to figure out when that rule went into effect and to find out how that was arrived at, because it sounds like other municipalities don't do it the way we do it. And I think that we owe that to not just you, but to others that are going to be developing in the township. I mean, you know, this is a glaring problem. The other thing, I don't think I need a motion for that. The other thing that I think we should do, and I don't know if we can do this, you've already indicated that you're lawyering up. The township obviously has legal interest in this. I'm wondering, is it feasible for the township to enter into a joint agreement with your lawyer so that our mutual interests could be pursued together and supplement one another? But at the same time, you yourself and your neighbors may have valid legal claims against the township for not doing things that they should have done. I don't know the answer to that, but what I would like to do is to make a motion to direct the solicitor to look into the possibility of a joint representation agreement or a cooperation agreement with your attorney so that they can work in unison while maintaining privileges and confidentialities, as long as those interests are not adverse to one another, since you may have valid claims against the township for not doing something that it should have done with regard to the permitting, CO, and approval process here.
When was
I
your-
appreciate
when
that.
was your house approved? When was it?
I actually don't know the answer to that question.
A year ago? I mean,
I actually don't think the CO was approved until slightly before I moved in, but they were using it as a.
tell me when, I don't know.
Oh, sorry, I moved in November, I closed on the house November 21st.
Oh, just after.
So I do believe that the final CO is maybe granted in that November timeframe prior to me closing.
What I'm focused on is our ordinance or whatever rules and regulations that we have that allow this to happen. I want to figure out how they reached the conclusion that we didn't need to have as-built requirements, because that maybe we need to inform ourselves, maybe there's some issue that we're not seeing here. And I realize, you know, there may be additional costs to developers to have to do that. It may delay closing on homes. People want to get closed, you know, they have a certain date for financing, and they can hold up those issues. It creates a whole, there's a whole other layer to this that we're not aware of. But at the same time, I think we need to do a thorough analysis of it.
And if you recall, I asked to put the as-built discussion on the next agenda.
Yeah.
So I hope that would
You did, but I'm asking, I want to know the minutes, I want to see the minutes and the records and everything else that went into the original ordinance, not just, let's talk about it. I want to drill down and get the data so that we understand what exactly it is we're talking about. Because otherwise we're just paying lip service to this process, and these folks deserve better than that.
Okay, so did you have a motion on the floor?
Yeah, my motion was, again, my motion was to direct the solicitor to look into and report back to council as to whether or not a joint agreement can be entered into with the attorney who's been retained by the homeowners here to see if there are mutual interests and there can be a unified presentation of those interests, as long as there aren't conflicts of interest that would prevent that. Namely, whether or not the residents have a potential claim against the township for dropping the ball here.
So you would present us with a draft?
I think you just report to us, I don't need a draft, I just want to report as to whether or not he can do it. If he says he can do it, then we can direct him to enter into the agreement. If he says we can't do it, then we can't do it. And that part of that would be doing some legal research on it, communicating with the attorney who represents the homeowners here, and whatever other due diligence is required to provide us with a comprehensive legal opinion.
Is there a second to this?
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay. Okay, council discussion. Jason, you already pretty much said here.
I said my
Okay,
part.
Tom?
I'm fine with it.
Okay, Victoria, you're abstaining from this?
I'm going to abstain from the vote, but I just wanted to ask the solicitor if he's, at this point in time, comfortable with making that level, making that step. As I understood, there were still additional things, so I'm asking if he feels that that's a comfortable move for the township.
I'm comfortable coming back at our next meeting and reporting at that point, whether, as Mr. Bonona suggested, A, can we do it? What are the parameters of doing it? Separate question, should we do it? And what are the issues of whether or not we should do it?
Yes.
Okay, Laura?
I just wanted, I'm sorry, that's okay, I just wanted to, I'm hopeful by the next meeting I can get some clarification on my ability to vote. But for today, I'm going to abstain, but that doesn't mean I'll necessarily have to abstain in the future. Thank you.
Okay, Laura?
Yeah, I don't have any additional comment on this.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Carucci?
Yes.
Ms. Wright?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis?
Yes.
Motion passes.
I guess,
Okay.
we'll let you guys go about your business, but we do appreciate it. I guess the one last ask that I would have is, you know, we all have the same issues, and I have septic issues, Ms. Ophoff has potential septic issues. Could we review for the health and safety of the environment and the community that's drinking the well water and so forth up there? I know I met some other residents that are adjacent to our community that approach me this evening. Could we mandate review of the septic tanks? Because we've got 7 homes with 5 failed foundations. Most of us have HVAC issues, electrical issues. I mean, if the same guy put the septic tank in, I gotta believe that there's other issues and there's concerns. And our systems are able to be monitored digitally through metering, but other systems are not. And we use the same tanks. So I'm just wondering if these guys bought from the scratch and dent lot. No, you laugh, but this is how they buy refurbished utilities and stuff like that, and that's what we're finding. And I would just, from an environmental perspective, and we've got 8 children that are under the age of 5 in our community. Well, no, sorry, hers is 9 years old or 10 years old, but so we've got 9 kids in our community that are drinking this well water. It could be contaminated by septic effluents. So I would just ask that you guys consider as council mandating the review of the tanks that are in place, and certainly, no disrespect to Chris Taylor, because he's done an amazing job with my particular issue, no disrespect to any oversight he may have had of the other tanks, but we just want assurance as a community that our septic tanks aren't throwing stuff all over the place.
So how would we handle something like that?
Can I ask you a question? Have you had any water testing done? Have you had your waters tested to see if there's any issues of concern?
So we actually, in our home, I can't speak for the other, yes, I've had a person come over and test, but we also, through our drinking water, we have UV ray treatment, which gets rid of these type of bacteria. I don't know if other people in the development do. I don't know if my neighbor across the field does.
I'm just wondering if it's
I don't know, but so we, yes, I've had our water tested and it came back fine, and that was a week ago.
Okay. The other question I have, this may be to Mark and to Brian. Does DEP, does that oversee sewage, on-lot sewage?
Ultimately, it's DEP's regulations that are enforced most of the time through the township.
I mean,
It's
we're real quick to send letters to DEP about nonsense with the landfill. Why aren't we sending a letter to DEP with regard to these residents' concerns about their sewage issues?
So Chris Taylor has been in touch with the local Bethlehem area DEP rep that oversees sewage and septic, but broader DEP, I don't believe any conversations have happened.
I don't think we have a motion that's pending, but I'll make a motion to direct the township manager to author a letter to DEP raising these concerns to DEP for their investigation response.
And can I amend your motion and ask that they test their wells? So it's always, the DEP has done that in the past.
I'm fine with that.
I'll second it then.
I did ask for Mr. Taylor to share this with DEP. I don't know if I can share this letter with you guys.
We have it.
Well, you
Our
have
staff
it.
has it.
Okay. So, yeah, so I had made that request with DEP because we're getting, I mean, if the enforcement officer of this township is having trouble getting our builder to act, how do you think we're dealing with it on other critical issues? I mean, they're just disgusting. It's haphazard and it's awful. So we appreciate the time.
Maybe if they hear from DEP, maybe they pay a little bit more attention. I don't know, maybe I'm being optimistic. I probably am.
Should we give this guy the yellow sweater?
I'm speaking at the moment. The other thing is that when you test your drinking water, you just test it for drinking water standards. It may not tell you everything. That there's specific parameters that you may need to be testing for that is absent in that test.
No, you see, that's fair, but we do treat, we reverse osmosis UV, we got the whole works, but I don't know if other people do. You know, it's a concern.
And please be sure to share the as-bills with Mark so that I can see those before I go out. It will make the field visit that much more productive.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Jason made the motion. Tom, did you want to go next?
No.
I seconded, so I support the motion. Victoria?
This is on sending a letter to the DEP. I don't think that involves any pecuniary interest, it's just a letter, so I'm gonna vote yes on that.
Laura, did you have any comments before we go?
I don't have any comments.
Okay, Mark, can we do the roll call, please?
Ms. Wright, can you vote?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis?
Yes?
Ms. Alcantara?
Yes.
And Mr. Croce?
Yes.
Okay, is that it then? Are you guys okay?
Just want to say thank you again for giving
Thank
us the
you.
time.
Good luck.
Really appreciate it.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Take care.
That's a good point.
Okay, is there any public comment to this issue? Hearing none. Oh, go ahead, Ginger.
I just wanted to let the gentleman know that Northampton County, the district, conservation district, has to oversee all of the plans when you're doing lots and all of the engineering that goes on. It goes from our township engineers, personal engineers, and all of that information does go to the conservation district for them to oversee everything. And then at that point, when you're selling even your lots before builders come in, the person that owns the properties is actually held responsible at the top of the list for all the people to do what they are supposed to be doing to the properties, the contractors as well as the subcontractors. So my suggestion would be for them to make sure they are contacted as well, and they might have more authority as well as your council to help assist with this process, because they have the right to persecute, I think.
Okay, thank you for that suggestion.
That's the Northampton County Conservation District.
Okay, would anybody else want to go? Okay, yes.
I absolutely agree with the,
Name for the record.
sure, Dave Boulin. I agree with the previous speaker. This, by the way, if you've ever been through this process, I have a relative who's been through it. As a matter of fact, after 9 years, we're still in process, and it gets kicked around like a football. The only thing I can tell these gentlemen is get yourself a really good lawyer and go after it. Make sure you know each and every person that did those approvals and go after it, okay? I really like the council's approach here, and a little timid from what I've seen because I've been through it with other people. But I want to tell you that nothing beats a good attorney. The other, I'd like to ask a question. Are we going to get a chance as the public to speak about what was done earlier on this attorney issue? That
I've
referred
never
to?
called public comment.
Pardon?
You never called for public comment?
No, that's in my, but I thought I'd ask.
Yeah, and you can do that under, I'll let that go under non-agenda items, and I.
Okay, so that will be, because there's several things along that same line, and I know your revised rules say we can speak to each and every one of these things as a rule before they're heard, but not knowing what went on in the back room, that's really, I'll speak about it unless it's past 1 o'clock. Please, sir.
Okay, was there somebody else standing up, Mark?
I promise.
Name for the record, please.
Mark Ozmek, Reddington Road, Lower Saucon. Lost my train of thought there for a minute talking to people. So, Mr. Benonis wants to talk about council and past decisions that were made. If I'm correct in understanding, this guy moved in his house in November 21st, 2023, which places Mr. Bananas as the president of council. For the time that he was in office as president, and Mr. Carochi and the rest of them at that time, did that council do any investigation as to what was going on in the township with builders? Was anything monitored? Was action taken against any of them? And the big thing that brought me up here the first time was when you discovered this at the last meeting from these guys when they were here, how come there was not a cease and desist work order put on those companies building those houses? Because you just heard him say they're still out here plopping up houses pretty fast as they can to get done. When I moved in my house and I had to pull out the cistern piping, I got a cease and desist order from Chris, who used to be the township something, I forget. Yeah, whatever his last name was, I can't think of it. But had come out about somebody dumping oil down at the scrapyard. And he stopped, he talked to me, my dad, and my neighbor. And I was pulling the old piping out of the basement. So 2 days later, boom, I get a cease and desist order from Chris. And I get to come downtown hall and have a meeting with him, which is what I brought up other things. So if these houses are $1 million houses and people are investing in Lower Saucon Township, how come one of you or all of you or whoever's responsible did not serve these people with a cease and desist order and pull their work orders and stop them from doing any more work at all on anything until everything was inspected and situated and agreed upon on the proper way to do it?
I think that's a good question. Is that
It
something
is a
that we
good
can
question
do?
because you're opening yourselves up for more lawsuits when you know what's going on and you didn't put a stop to it. And as far as talking about past councils like Mr. Bedonis wants to do, somebody on council, besides just the engineer, should be more involved and more responsible for going out to these job sites and find out what's going on. Because I'd be pretty ticked off if it was me and my money at my house.
Okay, thank you.
Have a nice night.
Okay, I guess we're ready to move on to the next.
Excuse me.
Sorry? Oh, I'm sorry.
Bob Latchko, Lower Saucon Township resident. It seems to me that Mr. Bedonis is trying to place a lot of blame on his present council for these problems. It seems to me he's also very concerned about it, so is Mr. Carochi. So Priscilla, I would suggest that being they're so concerned and they want to know what can be done, that you would appoint them to investigate what can be done to help these residents. That's one point that I would like to make. Another thing is that we had to redo our sand mound several years ago. We had the inspector out, I believe it was 3 times. It cost us $1,500 for the different inspections. One of the things that was very frustrating was the fact that when he came out, or rather when the contractor was there to repair the sand mound, he came across an empty, abandoned septic tank, which then it was our responsibility to pay the contractor to take care of. Where was the inspector when this sand mound was originally put in? Where was the township on this? Why did I have to pay for what should have been taken care of properly several years before? That's the more serious incident. The other incident, and more recent, we had some of the work done in our house through a general contractor. The general contractor, we made him come and get all the permits, the guys, we paid for all the inspections, et cetera, et cetera. Less than a year later, one of the bathroom lights in the shower went out. My wife said, hey, something wrong here. Okay, fine, probably just a bulb. So I was in Home Depot, called my son, said, hey, would you go upstairs and take a picture of that so I can get one while I'm here? Yeah, sure, Dad. Calls me back with a picture. He said, Dad, something's wrong here. These wires are charred inside of here. I contacted the general contractor. He told me, I'll give you the electrician's number. I said, I didn't hire the electrician. You did. You call him. He texted me. He told me I should get a clue. Well, I had already pulled the cans out for the lights he had installed. And I texted back. I said, it says for dry locations only on the cans. How's that for a clue? Never heard another word. When I called Chris up and spoke to him about, well, that was almost a year ago. There's nothing we can do about it now. That's how concerned.
Okay, thank you. Okay, is that it? Okay, moving on to the next agenda. Wait, do we have a motion on the floor?
No, we're done.
We're done on motions.
Thank you. Good luck, guys.
Good luck.
Okay, so next we have authorized authorized payment number 3 to CH&N Construction for the Easton Road Ball Field project. The township has received the third payment request from CH&N Site Construction for the Easton Road Ball Field project. The payment request has been reviewed by Hanover Engineering, and they are recommended payment in the amount of $107,909.76. With that, I'd like to make a motion to approve the payment for the $107,909.76. So is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, council discussion, Jason?
Yeah, I just want to share with the public a very kind letter that we received. This is on December 21, 2023. This was sent to the members of Lower Saucon Council. This was from the postmaster from the Hellertown Post Office, Joseph DeRusso, postmaster. And he says as follows, to the members of the Lower Saucon Council, my family and I are very excited about the new baseball field underway on Easton Road. Our boys, Joey and Frankie, and many of their friends have played baseball on that field for many years. I've driven by the field several times lately to see the progress being made, and I'm looking forward to the day this field is finally open to all. It's exciting to finally have the full-size baseball field in Lower Saucon for year-round use available for these kids, young and old, to play baseball and softball on. This is a field of dreams for our community to enjoy for many generations to come, and thank you all. Thank you to all on council for the foresight on this project. Lisa and I were pleasantly surprised at the council's decision to name the future snack stand Mama D's after her. She's worked tirelessly for many years raising money to help support Lower Saucon Hellertown baseball program, as well as youth football, JV, and Saucon Valley high school baseball, from doubling the number of banner sponsors, holding the fundraisers at Steel Club, and many other fundraisers she has helped organize over the years to help raise funds to offset the cost of these programs to help make them affordable to everyone. Thank you for recognizing her and all of her hard work over the years. Looking forward to the day when this field opens for all! Exclamation point. Sincerely, Joseph C. DeRusso, postmaster. So I thought that was very kind of Mr. DeRusso to share his positive views of this project, and I'm looking forward to the field being completed.
Hey, Tom?
Nothing, I think it's a great project. Look forward to voting for it.
Okay, Victoria?
Thank you. I just want to confirm that we've had our engineer coming out to inspect the progress, and you're comfortable with the request for payment based upon the progress you've seen?
Yes, we have an engineer on site during most of the construction, and it's been reviewed.
Okay, thank you.
Laura?
No comment. Next.
Okay, public comment, anybody would like to speak on this issue, come up to the podium. Okay, seeing none, roll call please.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Cadonis?
Yes.
Ms. Sapdaspadera?
Yes.
Mr. Croce?
Yes.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Be recognized before we move on.
Yes.
Go ahead, Jason.
You don't have to give me such a contemptuous look. I'm just asking to be recognized.
Give you what you look like, Mark.
You're good at that. As I recall, about a year ago, Mark, you had met with representatives of softball for Saucon Valley Diving Sports, and there has been some comment from people in the public that this field is inappropriate because it doesn't allow for women's sports. And I would just like to provide a reminder that the township already has a lighted softball field here at Township Hall, and that there were improvements provided to that park about a year ago. It went through the Parks and Rec process, the recommendations that were made. Dave Spurk was the president of Parks and Rec at that time, had gone out, I believe, with Roger, perhaps with you, Mark, and also representative softball, to look at any improvements that were needed to make that field better. And I think some of those things were adding some infield dirt mix, perhaps some benches, and I think also putting some fencing up, as well as improving the lights or adding, fixing the burned out light bulbs. I would ask that, obviously since we're constructing this baseball field, I would ask that the township manager contact Saucon Valley Diamond Sports, specifically the president of softball, who I think is Greg Best, who's been kind in donating lights for the basketball court and other amenities here in the township. Reach out to him to see if there's anything else that's needed for softball. I think that, we checked all the things that were on their list when we provided those improvements, and I think it was about a year ago, maybe a little more than a year ago. But to the extent there are additional improvements that are needed to make that field better for the residents of the community and for the people that will use it, I would ask that we do that. So I'll make a motion to direct the manager to do that.
I'll second.
Thank you, Tom.
Do I have a motion like this on this agenda?
It is a related to the agenda.
Okay. Okay, so there's a motion on the floor, motion and a second. And discussion, Jason, you just talked, do you want the board? Tom?
I'm good, thanks.
Victoria?
I'm happy to hear about something for softball. I will say I would have hoped that in the design phase of the project, which I did not have the opportunity to participate in as a council person, I would like to see this all into one design so that we're not piecemealing. The project as it stands right now is $3.2 million, but I am happy to hear the motion.
The motion is related to softball. The softball field here at Town Hall Park.
Laura?
Yeah, no comments.
Okay, anyone in the audience? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Benonis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Afdal-Kardera?
Yes.
Mr. Croce?
Yes.
Ms. Wright?
Yes.
Ms. Deedon?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, next is the approval of the Saucon Valley Community Center Senior Agreement for 2024. The agreement between Saucon Valley Community Center and the township has been prepared and is for the senior program. The program will run year-round with limited summer hours. I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2024 senior program agreement per the terms of the agreement.
I'll
Is
second
there-
that.
Okay. And Jason, comments?
Nope. I think it's a great program.
Tom?
No, it's a great program.
I also agree. Victoria?
Just so everybody, I'm sure you see it in your packet, but to highlight, the Saucon Valley Community Center will provide adults/senior programs Tuesdays from 9:30 to 3, Wednesdays from 9:30 to 3, and Thursdays from 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. year-round with limited summer hours. This is the summer program for our adults and seniors, and I think it's a wonderful thing.
Okay, Laura?
Yes, I think it's a great program as well. It's nice that the ladies can run all the things that they do throughout the year for the seniors. So, that's all.
She does a good job over there. Public comment? Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Afdal-Kardera?
Yes.
Mr. Croce?
Yes.
Ms. Wright?
Yes.
Ms. Leon?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, moving on, we have the approval of the special event application for Saucon Valley Youth Lacrosse Day. Council will review the event application, which would be held on Saturday, May 4th at Hope Valley Park. Would there be a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, I'll second. And council discussion, Jason?
I think it's great that Youth Lacrosse would be holding that event.
Tom?
No comment.
I think it's a great program also. Victoria?
I second or made the motion. I don't remember, but I thank the lacrosse team for coming using our park for this particular event. I look forward to it.
And public comment? And can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Croce, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Wright?
Yes.
Ms. Leon?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis?
Yes.
Ms. Afdal-Kardera?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, next we have discussion and possible action on township budget enacted in violation of Pennsylvania law, second-class township codes. Agenda item was requested by Mr. Benonis. I'll turn it over to you, Jason.
All right, thank you. The last council meeting, it was fairly late in the evening when we got to this, or maybe early in the morning. But I wanted to go over what took place at the last council meeting, specifically the approval of an proposed amended budget by Priscilla De Leon, Laura Ray, Victoria Hoptop, Cordero. Kathy had shared with me and commented during the meeting that the budget that was approved was inaccurate in that it reflected $1 million allocation for paving project at Cherrywood, which in fact was bid. It came back at about $380,000. So the budget, the proposed budget was off by $620,000. And I had highlighted that multiple times during the meeting prior, that the budget was inaccurate. Those who on council knew that it was inaccurate, but yet they voted to approve that budget. In addition, I also pointed out that I thought that it was illegal for the township to raise taxes while it was sitting on $9 or $10 million in reserves. And I felt that the appropriate reserve level should be 25% of the future year's expenses. And Kathy confirmed again that the amount that was being held in reserves was $9 or $10 million, and that 25% of those expenses would be roughly $2.7 million. So the majority of this council voted to approve a budget and to take more taxpayer money while they were already hoarding taxpayer money. And I highlighted during the meeting the various violations that took place. One was Section 3202 of the second class code. Section 3202 annual budget says a township shall not prepare and advertise notice of a proposed budget when it is knowingly inaccurate. Again, a township shall not prepare and advertise notice of a proposed budget when it is knowingly inaccurate. So it's beyond challenge that this council knew that the budget was knowingly inaccurate. Again, it was off by $620,000. It's not, you know, a couple dollars. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars, more than $500,000 of taxpayer money. But yet, this council chose to proceed with that. And then we look at section 1508.1, the second class township code. It says, subpart B, the Board of Supervisors may annually make appropriations from the general township fund to the operating reserve fund, but no appropriation shall be made to the operating reserve fund if the effect of the appropriation would cause the fund to exceed 25% of the estimated revenues of the township's general fund in the current fiscal year. So again, there's a 25% threshold. So then we move on. The duties of the Board of Supervisors, section 607. The members of this council are charged with the governance of the township and the execution of the legislative, executive, and administrative powers in order to ensure sound fiscal management and to secure the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of the township. That's under Part 1. Part 7, perform duties and exercise powers as may be imposed or conferred by law or the rules and regulations of any agency of the Commonwealth. So then we look at consequences of this. Section 3501, violation of act, generally penalty. Any township supervisor, elected or appointed township official or employee, roadmaster or contractor, or any other person, including any corporation officer or employee who violates any of the provisions of this act other than those for which specific penalties are provided or fails to carry out the provisions of this act, commits a summary offense. All fines collected for violation of this act shall be paid to the township treasurer and credited to the general township fund. So, we talked about this the last meeting. We made a motion to direct the police to investigate. That motion was voted down by Priscilla De Leon, Victoria Hoptop Cordero, and Laura Ray, perhaps to cover up war malfeasance. I don't know. So my question is, Mark, have the police responded to you and provided you with any information concerning their investigation of what has been brought to the attention of the police? There was a police officer who was here at the last meeting, and I forget who it was.
Bartholomew.
Officer Bartholomew. Has that, is there a police investigation underway, to the extent you can speak to it? And let's answer that question first.
No, the motion was voted down.
Okay. Is there a requirement for the police to conduct an investigation that they must have a motion and approved by a majority of this council? So in other words, if there's a murder that takes place in the township, do we have to vote to investigate the murder?
Pardon me, I don't think that's a fair question for the manager to answer. I mean, if it's a question for the police as to what they can and cannot do, putting the manager on the spot like this is not, that's not his purview.
Well, you oversee the chief of police, right, Mark?
Correct.
You're his boss, right?
Yes.
Okay. Have you had any discussions with the chief of police as to whether or not that is going to be investigated?
As I said, the motion was denied.
I understand the motion was denied. I'm asking you,
And
did you
this-
independently of any motion that was not approved by this council?
We discussed it a little bit, and that's not a situation that the township police would investigate. That would be a attorney general or maybe the DA.
How about the state police? Do we have to go to the state police because the lower Saucon police won't investigate a summary offense that was clearly a violation of those various acts that I just talked about?
I don't know that the state police would also either. I can't answer that.
All right, let me ask you this. The township has insurance, correct?
Yes.
You're the person who provides notice to the township's insurance carrier about potential claims against the township, correct?
Correct.
Have you placed the township insurance carrier on notice of potential claims resulting from the violations that I just spoke about, specifically passing a knowingly inaccurate budget, as well as enacting a budget that held in reserves greater than 25% of the projected expenses?
No.
Okay. I'm going to make a motion to direct the township manager to place the township insurance carrier on notice of potential claims related to the aforementioned violations.
I'll second.
There's a motion and there's a second on the floor. Can we have discussion? Jason, did you have anything else to add?
I believe it's appropriate to put the township insurance carrier on notice. The reason why I believe it's appropriate is because if we fail to provide timely notice to the insurance carrier, that they could deny coverage for any potential claims that would be filed against the township. And as a result of that, township taxpayers will be further burdened by having to pay any judgment or settlement that would arise from any claims or litigation related to those violations and claims as resulting from those violations.
Okay, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. There's certainly no harm in notifying the insurance company, none whatsoever. And it could be very beneficial to taxpayers to notify them in a timely manner.
Okay, Victoria?
Thank you. I just want to confirm with the solicitor, this isn't something, we don't have any current litigation that's before us. Anybody, anything that we've received, Mark? Anybody file anything?
No.
Okay. We said it last time, we'll say it again. This is just a waste of all of your time, and I'm really sorry. I'm inclined to vote no.
Okay, Laura?
Well, I don't have any particular comment regarding notifying an insurance carrier for whatever potential claims. I have other comments. Not on that motion.
Okay, I'd like to open up for public comment. Anyone in the audience like to speak to this issue? Sorry.
Andrea Witchin. We have a very highly paid director of finance. Has she admitted that she put forth a budget that was not correct? I haven't heard her say that. Did she not prepare the budget that was advertised and was voted for by the council? Was that not her responsibility as her job? Did she not do her job properly? I kind of doubt that. I'd also be interested to know where exactly Mr. Benonis' credentials come from regarding corporate financial stewardship. I have been a chief financial officer. I'd match mine against his any day. This is baloney and it's a waste of our money. There is nothing to report to the insurance company because there has been no investigation. There has been no proof or indication that anything that has come out of his mouth is true. And unless you're about to claim that Mrs. Gorman didn't do her job or did it incorrectly, I would suggest that you drop it now.
Out of order, you can't be doing that. Okay, next.
Most interesting.
Please say your name again for the record.
It's still,
I know that, but the tape doesn't know that.
it's still Dave Boulan, and no, I'm not running for office, even though somebody else has taken my phrase. Find it interesting that once you gain control of the council, it appears as though you can do anything you want. And if people make motions you do not like, you just snuff them out. Whether it's right or wrong.
Okay, thank you. Mark? Please state your name for the record.
Mark Osebeck, and I'm back again. Speaking to the comments that we just heard. Oh God, help us. As far as making motions and doing whatever you want, when you become a person on council or a council president, somebody should go back and look at the last 2 years or more, however long it's been, and you'll get a real good view of the actions of Mr. Bananas. So my thing of coming up here now this time after that little spazzazo is that Mr. Bananas wants to contact the insurance company, and John wants to contact the state police, and he wants to contact the Attorney General. My question to you is, are you going to go to them and tell the truth? Are you going to tell them that you were president of council and you did nothing about it for 2 years?
Okay, anyone else? Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Ray, how do you vote?
I'm not sure what we're voting on here, to send the letter to the
Insurance agency letting them know
No.
that the budget may have been passed.
I vote no.
Misty Lim,
No.
Mr. Benonis,
Yes.
Ms. Aptoff-Gadar,
No.
Mr. Crouch.
Yes.
Motion does not pass.
All right, I haven't yielded, so I'll continue on. I have an email which I brought up at the last council meeting. This is an email from Steve Gutsuzian, the interim township solicitor. And I asked, it's captioned legal opinions for February 7, 2024 meeting. And I had asked him in an email prior day. I said, hi Steve, with regard to business items B, C, and D on the February 7, 2024 agenda, please advise on the legal opinion as interim solicitor if each item passes legal muster, both procedurally and substantively, if voted for approval by a majority of council. Also, please advise if the budget and taxes approved by prior council in December 2023 remains in effect until any new budget is approved, what effect, if any, the December 2023 approved budget has on township expenses or obligations incurred and are paid from January 1, 2024 until any new budget is approved, and how any payments made so far in 2024 are reconciled with any new budget. Thanks, Jason. And he responded, Jason, based on the Lower Saucon Code, provisions for the budget are addressed in sections 5-14, which is attached. 53 PA Consolidated Statute annotated 68202, the second-class township code is also attached. The provisions of both are somewhat similar. I have not reviewed the budget documents or the process in detail. That being said, there is nothing that would suggest a legal or procedural deficiency. Is there a specific question or concern that you have regarding the procedure? If there is a specific concern you have, please let me know. There is nothing that I'm aware of that would prevent voting tonight. The amended budget must be adopted by February 15th. The majority of council's vote would be controlling. For example, a 3-2 vote would be controlling. The existing budget remains in effect until it is amended. If, once the budget is amended, the amended terms control, no adjustments would have to be made for payments made. I believe a breakdown as to what the amended budget would change has already been provided to members of council. However, I enclosed another copy for you and you provided the link to the 2024 amended budget to lowersaucontownship.org website. It's a PDF. Thank you, Stephen, and good Susan. So, I guess my question to Mr. Gitsuzian is, he was providing legal opinions in that email. Has he placed his legal malpractice carrier on notice of potential claims arising from the items that I just discussed, specifically the lack of opinion that this council was passing a knowingly inaccurate budget, and also that this council was passing a budget in violation of the second-class code that permits reserves of only 25% of the subsequent year's expenses?
That's your question?
That's my question.
No.
Okay. Since this council presumably acted upon the advice of council or the lack of advice from council, and where he admits in his email that he has not reviewed the budget documents or the process in detail, I would make a motion that Mr. Gitsuzian places legal malpractice carrier on notice of potential claims resulting from the advice or lack of advice that he provided with regard to the budgeting process and approvals that were provided by Priscilla De Leon, Victoria Optop Cordero, and Laura Ray on February 7, 2024.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Jason made it, Tom seconded, and we'll have discussion. Jason, did you have anything else?
Yeah, I believe that it's appropriate for the solicitor to place is it legal malpractice insurer on notice so that the township taxpayers are not exposed if there is any claim or litigation that arises from this process. The township solicitor's role is to provide legal advice to the members of this council. The township solicitor's role is to try to keep the township out of legal peril and litigation and claims and to protect the taxpayers and their dollars. And I believe that that did not take place here. So therefore, I believe it's appropriate for Mr. Gitsuzian, even though I know the majority of council has already refused to place the insurance carrier for the township on notice of the potential claims, thereby potentially subjecting the township residents to needless exposure. It doesn't cost anything to place the carrier on notice to have them investigate to determine whether or not they are going to provide coverage and whether or not there's a basis to defend those claims. There's no cost in that whatsoever, but I guess egos are more important than the township taxpayer dollars.
Tom?
Yeah, from what I've seen so far from our intern solicitor, I think we should put his malpractice insurance on notice. What I've seen the past few meetings.
Okay, I disagree. Victoria?
Again, I apologize to the residents for having to sit through this. I'm inclined to vote no.
Laura?
Yes, I don't think we need to be directing the solicitor whether he needs to contact his carrier or not. That would be his decision, so.
Okay, now I'd like to open it up to the audience. Public comment, please. Jamie?
Bruce Petrie, Reddington Road. I would just like to say that, you know, the council, as Mr. Bononis read, is responsible for the welfare of its citizens, but when he was in charge of the council as its president, I don't remember seeing any request for water quality geological surveys on the expansion of the landfill that was going to denude 275 acres of mature forest.
Does this have to do with the solicitor putting himself on notice?
There's not 275, he knows that.
Go ahead, Bruce, sorry for the interruption.
I'm used to it.
Used to one.
So, you know, and the other thing is too, Mr. Benonis, you're making decisions as though you're the judge. And you know, as an attorney, you don't get to interpret the law, a judge does. So don't sit up here and say it was against this and against that and for this and for that. A judge decides that. Now you can have an opinion, a legal opinion, but don't sit there and make it sound like it's the law, because it ain't.
Thank you, Bruce.
Well, I did read the law, so.
He read it.
So did I.
Let's say your name for the record, please.
Mark Ozimek, I guess apparently I need to read more law. Grateford was a wonderful place. Anyway, with the comments that Jason made about contacting the insurance company and the solicitor contacting his insurance company and putting them on notice that there could possibly be action taken against them for things that they do or they don't do, sounds to me, personally, this is the way I take it, that you're using scare tactics against the insurance company, and they're going to look at the township, and they're going to look at Mr. Gazuzian, and they're going to say, do we want to insure these people next year? You trying to scare them off? I mean, why don't you contact Mr. Policeman there, I can't see his name, Bates, and put it in notice that you're going to go to the club after you leave here tonight and get intoxicated, and he should sit and wait around the corner to bust you for DUI.
Maybe run somebody down the road, too.
That's out of order.
What was that?
That was out of order.
I didn't hear that. You repeat it?
Good.
Just as
It was
well.
out of order.
Anyway, for the citizens of Lower Saucon Township, I hope you're smart enough to pay attention to what this man is doing and what comes out of his mouth.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, may we have a roll call, please?
Excuse me.
I just want to,
Not getting up as quickly as I
Old age is fun, ain't it?
I've been sitting there too long. Instead,
Still.
Mr. Benonis wants to talk about a surplus. This isn't the first year that there's been a surplus, but this is the first year he's talked about giving it back all of a sudden.
Speak up, Bob.
Mr. Carochi, you suggested when they presented when Priscilla presented a DEP letter, and they suggested and took a vote on all the people they thought it should be sent to. I've got a suggestion. As you said to them, on the list of people that you want to notify about your claims, you and Mr. Benonis, why don't you put Biden Harris on it too? While you're at it, just a suggestion. Mr. Benonis is used to the people in his inner circle taking what he says as the oracles of God. There's one difference. God tells the truth. I've got others, but that's enough for now.
thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I believe the motion on the floor is to notify your practice insurance.
That is the motion.
Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
No.
Mr. Benonis?
Any vote against this is just another cover-up. So I'm voting yes.
Ms. Aptas-Badera?
No.
Mr. Carochi?
Yes.
Ms. Rick?
No.
Motion does not pass.
All right. I haven't yielded yet. As I recall, it was either at the January 2nd, 11th, or 17th meeting where the newly elected controller, Lynn Hill, offered some figures that I questioned that were very sketchy in my mind as to her views of what the township budget is, and that there was a need to increase taxes, but at no time did she raise any concerns about the knowing inaccuracies of the budget. In fact, I brought that up to her, and I believe it was a resident that stood at the podium and said that the budget was off by $620,000, which was almost 10% of the township budget. So she didn't bring that up. I believe as a controller, she should have. In addition to that, she didn't bring up the topic of the reserves being in excess of the 25%. I don't know if she has insurance for her controller duties, but I would ask that if she does, that she place the insurer for her controller responsibilities, any E&O carrier or any other carrier that would provide coverage for her duties as a controller, to immediately place that carrier on notice of the potential claims from the township, potential claims against the township for the knowingly inaccurate budget, as well as the reserves in excess of 25%.
Oh, is that a motion?
That's a motion.
I'll second. Is she bonded?
Even
Controller
though,
bonded?
yes, she is.
So she is bonded?
Yeah, yes.
All right, so there we go. All right, it's good, it's a plus. And again, my reason for this is to, again, to protect the township residents and taxpayers from litigation, so that there's coverage there, so they don't have to pay for this nonsense out of pocket.
Okay, Tom?
I agree, exactly.
Okay.
Protect the township.
Okay, my opinion is I do not agree. Victoria?
I'm really sorry for everybody.
No, we're not doing that.
I'm really sorry for everybody to hear all these motions. I hope that we can get through the rest of the agenda and plan to vote now.
All right.
The solicitor doesn't run the agenda, so what let him see.
Yes, you're out of order. Laura?
And as with the other proposals, I
So if you want to speak, Jason. feel
You know
free.
what, we can't hear Laura if you're speaking. I've asked you,
carrier put on notice.
Laura, speak a little louder, please.
As with the other proposals, I don't see a need to be placing insurance carriers on notice for any reason.
Okay,
Jason, if you want to speak again, you should be allowed. There is no rule that says a council member can only speak once. However, not in the policy and the procedure.
However, there is a rule that allows the township, the president of council to control the meeting.
Yeah, that's right.
And you have an opportunity to speak, and
He's an elected
damn
official
sure.
that can speak.
Out of
He's an
order,
elected official
Tom.
that can speak.
No, you keep saying that like he means
I'm
something.
talking to the president.
And the president has the opportunity, everyone on council has an opportunity to be heard.
That's right.
Everyone has been heard.
And they need to hear more than once.
That is that is a subjective and incorrect interpretation.
It doesn't say anywhere that we can't be heard more than once.
Correct, exactly. It allows the president to control how the meeting
It
goes.
doesn't. I didn't
So
vote
now
for
we can
those
open up this
procedures.
public.
I didn't vote for those procedures, and I didn't agree for those procedures when I took the oath of office.
you are out of
I
order.
didn't agree to those procedures when I took the oath of office.
It's my prerogative.
It's not
And
your
my prerogative is
Speak
to
to-
call and
Jason, you wanna
open the
speak, just
meeting to public comment.
You wanna speak
So
to-
anybody out there would like
Don't let
to
a
speak,
gal Nazi talk you down.
call me whatever you want, okay?
3 Reddington Road, I think the council should adopt a rule that says members get one
One turn only.
comment, and that's it.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. Next agenda item.
Vladimir Leon over there wants to keep people's comments to a minimum.
Now you're out of order again.
All right,
Mark? Mark?
Thank you, Bruce. Mark Ozmek, I'm back again. Mr. Panonis wants to state about notifying an insurance company and is Lynn bonded, so it doesn't cost the taxpayers any money. Well, Mr. Panonis, how much money did you cost the taxpayers with frivolous lawsuits against the library?
None.
Really? The taxpayers ain't hanging on the bill for that? Not at all came out of your pocket?
There's nothing frivolous about them.
It's fraud.
Stay tuned for that dollar.
It's a fraud code.
We don't know if it's fraud. We don't know if there's a cover-up.
And we may not ever find out.
You'll never know now. The solicitor's gonna cover it up.
You're a fraud.
Hold on. Maybe you have a
I'm
comment,
gonna
so
go
make
for
a
the
comment.
personal attack. Are you gonna do that? Are you gonna follow the rules?
Here's my,
I got the floor, shut up!
Are you gonna select?
Wow. Come on, guys. I was going going to, but you interrupted me, okay?
I didn't interrupt you, you sat there with
Oh
a dumb
my
look on your face, you
God.
were dumbfounded by what you saw in front of you.
All right, let's rewind.
Continue to call people's names, okay? Mark, please, you cannot say stuff like that. I've asked you before, and I can't keep asking you. You can't say stuff like that.
But it's not a lie.
I don't care. You cannot come to this podium in this council room and disobey the rules, okay? Please.
Okay?
Okay, I'm asking.
I need lawyer lessons on how to rephrase that. Because some people go to other people and just blatantly lie and get them charged with crimes they didn't commit.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, so we've had public comment. I guess we need a roll call, please.
Mr. Benonis, how do you vote?
So we just saw Mr. Gitsuzian serving the role of attack dog for Priscilla, that was interesting, but what we didn't hear is any explanation for their actions in taking those votes, and we haven't heard any explanation from them as to why they wouldn't put on notice the township's insurance carrier, direct the solicitor to put his insurance carrier on notice, or the controller to put her insurance carrier or bonding agency on notice.
And where's
So
that
I'm going to vote yes.
And Ms. Updike-Cadero,
No.
Mr. Carucci,
I agree with Jason that our solicitor is just.
This is for the controller.
Priscilla's tool, and I vote yes.
Ms. Ray,
No.
Ms. DeLeon. Motion does not pass.
Move on.
Are you finished with this agenda item?
Move on.
I'm finished with it for the moment, for purposes of this meeting, but this issue is not done.
Okay, moving on, authorization to prepare a request for proposal for a township solicitor, which is again requested by Mr. Benonis, so I'll turn it over to you.
No.
Yeah, we had a solicitor. We got rid of the solicitor for 23 years. Then you got an interim solicitor who lasted all of, 15 days, 16 days?
He was permanent though, he was not
He was a
into,
permanent
he was
solicitor.
a permanent solicitor. Priscilla gave him the job right out.
And now we have Mr. Gitsuzian, who is retained as an interim solicitor, who's more permanent than the last permanent solicitor. I brought up when Mr. Gitsuzian was here to apply for, I guess that's being generous, to go through the ceremony of applying for this when it was already handpicked. All of the concerns that I had, and in the interest of everybody's time, I'm not going to go over that. If you're interested in that, you can go back to that January 17th meeting. I'm sorry, not January 17th. It was the emergency meeting that was called on January, thank you, January 24th.
It was a special meeting.
Special meeting, special meeting. So, since then, there has been no effort to remove that interim tag. There's been no effort to identify a new permanent solicitor and to send out a request to anybody who might be interested in that position who may be qualified. We've already seen tonight in executive session, Mr. Gitsuzian has undertaken actions unilaterally or perhaps at the direction of one or some, but not a majority of council. We've seen that this council has engaged in violations of the Sunshine Law by talking about topics in executive session that were not appropriate. We know from the email that I read earlier that Mr. Gitsuzian has provided us with bad legal advice with regard to the budget and knowing the inaccuracy of the budget as well as the retaining greater than 25% of the reserves. I believe it's time to move on and to identify a permanent solicitor that can properly and adequately represent the township's interests. You know, I've talked about this before. Mr. Gitsuzian, while he's perhaps a fine attorney in the matters that he deals with, he's a solicitor for boroughs, not townships. You know, the borough code is much different than the second-class township code. He also has a conflict here with regard to his representation in the borough of Hellertown. We talked about the conflict of interest. You know, He has some familial bias, I believe, that we talked about previously. And he's now been tasked to undertake steps on behalf of the township that I believe place him even more deeply in a conflict of interest. Because of that, I think it's appropriate for this council to follow through on what it suggested it was going to do at that meeting, and that is to look for a permanent solicitor who will serve in a permanent role as solicitor to provide quality, unbiased opinions, legal opinions that will help to protect the township taxpayers. If this council, if the majority of this council is unwilling to do that, it's just yet another example of the lack of transparency, the lack of honesty to the public. Yet again, they create the illusion that Mr. Gitsouzian's status is going to be interim, but yet they really, when they did that, they really apparently had no intention to move forward and find a full-time replacement solicitor. And I believe that's misleading to the public and all those individuals who were here to hear about that topic. And I think that the public should raise questions about this council's honesty toward them in that matter, as well as many other matters. That's all I have.
Yeah. When you go back to that January 24th special meeting, it was to appoint an interim solicitor and to prepare a request for a proposal for a township solicitor, which wasn't even done at the beginning of the year. There was no
Tom, let me interrupt you. Sure. I make a motion for the township manager to advertise for a permanent solicitor on behalf of the township.
I second that motion. And again, in that January 24th meeting on the agenda was the appointment of an interim solicitor and to put a proposal together for a permanent township solicitor to be advertised, which wasn't done in the beginning of the year when we had that solicitor that lasted 16, 17 days. I can't remember his name now. And
Mark Freed.
Freed. And that's was the assumption of appointing Mr. Gitsouzian, and that this would be advertised and put out there. Would be a proposal. You hope that you get multiple replies to the proposal for people that would do it and what they would charge per hour. And that hasn't been done. That was really on the agenda on the 24th as part of this interim appointment. And all I think this motion is doing is really to sort of send asking that be done. So we can see what's out there, so the township can get the best selection for this particular township. Hopefully one with some experience and knowledge of being a township solicitor, which is my understanding that Mr. Gitsouzian never was. He's a solicitor for a purpose, I guess. So I second the motion. I'll have to see why. I would ask for anybody that's thinking about voting no, what are you so afraid of? If Mr. Gitsouzian applies, I'll put him with the other candidates, and if he's the best candidate, I assume he would be appointed. I don't know what you're so afraid of to advertise and request proposals.
Okay, I disagree. Victoria?
Why?
No, that's inappropriate. Hold on, that's inappropriate. You know it's inappropriate. So stop doing it, please.
I have the right to ask why.
Why not?
Questions. You can always ask questions. We're open to council here. And Mr. Gitsouzian doesn't run the meetings. The president does. I don't know why he thinks he does. I think he's getting a little frustrated.
Okay, Tom, again, you're out of order. Victoria?
Thank you.
Take
I
your
again
medication.
apologize to the residents that we have some, I would think redundant agenda items that have been addressed earlier in the year, and I'm inclined to vote no, sorry.
Okay, Laura?
Why?
Again, that's inappropriate.
Yeah, so, you're cute with the why question, because let me say, everything happened in the last couple of years, we never got a wise answer, so that's what you get also. I am not inclined to change solicitors at this point because there's been so much turmoil and we need to kind of have something steady for some period of time until we can get things accomplished.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to open it up to the public. Oh, wait.
Kathy Pitchell McGovern, Lower Saucon Road in Hellertown. I have so many things to say. However, I believe the Borough of Hellertown just posted that you'll be resigning from the zoning board. Is that correct? Is here?
I'm not gonna answer those questions.
Oh,
You can tell us
can't
whatever
answer?
you like.
Okay, I believe I saw this, that you're resigning for the Borough of Hellertown. I hope, as a citizen, I hope to represent us. I believe that's correct. Jason, for you to imply familial bias when Jennifer Zavacki and Mark Inglis was on this council is embarrassing. The way you treat your own council members is deplorable. You need to set a new motion, whatever it is. They get one chance to talk and they get their 3-minute limit that they had imposed on us. Thank you.
Sounds like something happens in Russia.
Anybody else?
Russia, you get one opportunity to talk.
Oh, excuse me. Pardon, I'm sorry, pardon me. In my line of work, if I use a comment that is disrespectful, I will be fired. I understand that you're volunteers, but tonight I heard these are quotes, dumbass council. Last 2 weeks ago was a stupid question from a stupid person. And tonight I heard Vladimir DeLeon, and I believe I heard the word Nazi twice. To me, that person should be removed from this council.
It's a dumbfounded look, man.
Okay, Bob?
Bob Blasko, Lower Saucon Township resident. I know that we're not supposed to ask questions, but I can't help thinking to myself as I sit there, Mr. Gazosian knows the law and knows it very well. I'm sure that he is familiar with this Rule 1.7 conflict of interest that Mr. Bononis brought up earlier, but again, as usual, Mr. Bononis was cherry picking, something he often accuses others of doing, yet he refused to read the whole thing. The questions I have are regarding that, but I'm sure Mr. Gazosian can figure out what they would be, and that he would answer in the affirmative that he feels that he could reasonably represent both clients at the same time without prejudice. That's only one of the 3 or 4 exceptions to the rule that Mr. Bononis brought up. Mr. Gazosian was accused of being Priscilla's attack dog. I believe it was by Mr. Carochi. How many of us sitting in this room can remember how Link Treadwell jumped into the ring for you, Mr. Bononis, at different times? There is a certain time limit that an interim solicitor has to commit one way or the other, from my understanding, and I don't believe Mr. Gazosian has reached that time limit, so I don't know what Mr. Bononis' big hurry is. And another question that I would have, which I know isn't going to be answered, but I don't recall any law being mentioned that states that an interim lawyer cannot become the permanent solicitor. I really see no reason to advertise, but I see no problem with it either. Because I'm sure that Mr. Gazosian, from what I've seen, and others in this room and others on council agree that he's quite capable of handling it. Mr. Bononis, perhaps if he hadn't walked out, as he so often does, may have heard Mr. Gazosian testify to Mr. Carochi that, of course, you hit a horse where it hurts and it bucks, you know what I mean? Mr. Carochi, now my train of thought's lost, son of a gun.
Isn't that 2 minutes, take your time?
Well, I've got enough other notes here to go over. Priscilla, I know you're not supposed to answer, we're not supposed to be going back and forth. I don't recall counsel or any motions. The council should notify insurers in the past when lawsuits were involved, how, et cetera, et cetera. One of the meetings recently, Mr. Carochi in one breath was interrupting Priscilla as he was all this evening. And in the next breath, when she said, well, Tom, you know, you're supposed to be obeying me. And then next breath, he says, well, I thought I was. You knew you weren't, Tom. You knew you weren't.
What'd you say?
Priscilla
Yeah.
said that you were speaking above others. You were speaking out of turn and that you were interrupting.
Right.
And
I heard that part.
okay, and in the next breath or so, when she reprimanded you for doing that and interrupting and speaking out of turn, you said, oh, but I thought I was.
It was what?
Obeying the rules and not interrupting and doing the, yeah, you did, buddy, because I just watched it again.
I always obey the rules. I always obey
Watched
the
it
rules.
again today.
I always
We've
obey.
got some prizes coming because this fella sitting here and you are not the only ones that can sit down and read the minutes or sit there and watch the YouTube videos of the meeting.
One thing I am, it's a rule follower.
Yeah.
Okay.
Your own
Next.
rules, maybe.
Okay, comments, quiet, next.
Ginger Petrie, 2626 Reddington Road. The only thing I have to say is that I wish the council luck in trying to hire a different solicitor. Because any person that would even consider to apply for the job, all they have to do is listen to the last 3 or 4 meetings, and they might actually decide that you wouldn't possibly pay them enough money to put up with the crap that is going on in this room. That's all I had to say. You better dig deep in your pockets because you're gonna really have to pay for somebody to put up with this abuse. And the abuse that you're giving that gentleman is wrong. He's just as smart, if not smarter, than everyone else in this room, and he should be respected. And remember one more thing. The women that were up here are picked with a bipartisan election. And so those of us that are Republicans would like our Republican representatives to act just as respectful as the Democrats. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mark, are you coming up again? And you have to remember what I told you before, please.
I did say I would try, I would do my best. Marco is referring to the last,
I understand.
no, I wasn't the first one to bring up the word. The point in this right here is maybe Mr. Benonis is jealous and he wants a solicitor's job.
Okay, anybody else before I?
Overqualified.
Okay, go ahead.
Overqualified, Jason, sorry. I wouldn't go for it. I wouldn't go for Jason.
Yeah, I would say that anybody that sits in that solicitor's chair should be 100%, should not be failing. And when it comes time to making judgments on are you in conflict or not, I really have to laugh at some of the things that were said here tonight. I won't say anybody was stupid or whatever not, but clearly, I think if it's not direct conflict, it clearly is the appearance of a conflict, and that's just as bad. And you can read that in the PA statutes. And if solicitors, if you want, I will be more than happy to point that out to you, okay? Now, let's just say this for a second. I know of 2 people on this council that are not paid, okay? They give their expertise and time free. They don't get paid, all right? The other ones have made either large sums off the town of Lower Saucon or the township of Lower Saucon, or are attorneys and really should know better, but they sit there and they somehow, all of that gets pushed away when it gets time to make a legal decision. Their knowledge or lack thereof just gets pushed away. And that's what I was referring to earlier, if the council doesn't understand what I'm saying. And I'll speak about that because Mr. Leone has been good enough as the chair, president, to give me time at the end to speak. And I will be the last one to speak. I don't care if it's 5 in the morning. All right. Now, the other thing,
Okay,
have something to say.
Okay,
Well, let's speak up.
audience members, please.
Well,
please.
you need to control it. And I'm really tired of somebody over here giving me the finger all the time. You know, really.
I can't see that, I did not see
Well,
that.
I'll show it to you on the
I know
video.
what a finger looks like.
Yeah, well, then I should maybe, I won't go there. I won't degrade myself. Anyhow, you just stole a few more of my minutes. I know
You can
it's
have
typical.
more. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
no, I want to be heard. I don't want to be disrespected. And I would like the president of this organization and the solicitor, I notice how he jumps in every now and then to quiet the public down. Well, maybe it's only my side of the house that it quiets down. Maybe it's only your side. And if you don't want transparency, you keep doing what you're doing. Okay. And I was very happy with you and the homeowners. Anyhow, I've lost my thought on that. But what I will say, though, is that we all need to be a little bit more civil, and I certainly am not the epitome of it, but I do try hard. I don't sit there and laugh at people and give them the bird and whatever. So let's you, the chair, put the hammer down on that instead of everybody else. I enjoy hearing what each of the council members say. I would love to hear what the vice president has to say, but she's very quiet. That's okay. You vote. And I'd also like to hear about the other attorney that sits on the board here. I'd like to hear her thoughts and opinions. And I did notice that she recused herself when her sister was marginally involved. And I'll talk about that at the end. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Or anyone else before we call for the roll?
I received some emails from the public that I'd like to read in. One is from Oscar Gray, Township Attorney, conflict of interest. I believe Mr. Bononis is 100% correct about conflict of interest, particularly since we have ongoing legal battles with Hellertown. It doesn't matter if it's if it's zoning board. It is Hellertown. Hellertown pays him. Hellertown influences him. That's the point. This is not good. This is corruption. There's another one from Mr. Gray. It's egregious to drop the Hellertown Library common pleas RTK, right to know case. Hellertown Library is absolutely 100% guilty of fraud. I know this firsthand for a fact, so you are allowing fraud. And then there's one from Gina DeSantis, captioned council meeting. Mr. Bononis is 100% right about the library. How? There's no reason for them to not provide records as they were told to do by the Office of Open Records. They're hiding things, it is clear. And we have another one from Gina DeSantis, Hal committing fraud. The proof that they did commit fraud is they stopped providing those discounts to Friends members once it was brought to their attention. Fraud to the book vendors by buying books for Friends members under the pretext of being for a public library. Huge library discount and fraud to the state tax collector. They stopped providing this Friends members benefit once someone made a public records request about it, and that is why it's important that the common pleas right to know law case continue. Don't let them get away
What
with
does
fraud.
this have anything to do with the right to know, with RFP?
Because Mr. Gitsuzzi provided us with legal advice on these issues.
I disagree.
Don't let them
I
get away with
disagree.
fraud. Don't let
Let's do a
anyone get
roll
away
call,
with
please.
fraud. There's Priscilla shutting down a resident from being down the resident raising
I agree with that too, and making the point that his wife was on the library board when that was going on, and now they want to settle, they want it to all go away, they want to put it all, to cover it all up,
Was that email received this evening, or was that from before?
It's everybody, you received it too.
Today? Now?
Yes.
Tonight? What
Yes.
time?
Well,
Well, we've got one at 6:59, another at 7:03, another at 7:18, another at 8:58, oh, and another one.
We don't sit on
Oscar
our phone
Gray,
during the meeting
Again,
now.
regarding town attorney conflict of interest, I agree with the speaker that basically said optics is important. There is an appearance of conflict of interest at least, and that is important. In my opinion, it is more than just optics.
Okay, well, all.
So you got them, too. Everybody got them.
I
It's not
know, but
secret.
I'm running a meeting, I can't be checking my phone 18,000 times like you are. And
I know, it's hard to multitask.
anything read into the record is supposed to be sent to the manager before noon today. So that is the regulation. Just in case anybody wants to check me, you can go out in the hall and read resolution.
He was
Whatever it is
paraphrasing.
out there. Okay, roll call, please.
Request for proposal for a township solicitor to be sent out was the motion. Ms. Tafkader?
No.
Mr. Croce?
Yes.
Ms. Ray?
No, I don't think this is the right time, no.
Ms. DeLeon?
No.
Mr. Benonis?
I'd like to thank Kathy Pitchell-McGovern for bringing to this council's attention the fact that Hellertown is apparently removing Mr. Gutsuzi. You would think we would hear that from the solicitor, but that was never shared with us, so thank you for that.
I don't know
Well,
that that's
thank you
a fact,
anyways.
it was on
Now, he
the-
also talked about familial bias with Mark Ingalls and Jen Zavacki. I have no idea what you're talking about, I'm not related to them. If you have any DNA information that suggests otherwise,
No, you don't
fine.
have to respond. This is the opportunity for Mr.
And
Benoit
the
to
other
vote.
thing is, there was a comment about being respectful. I think it would be respectful if this council, who votes against this yet again, would say when they're going to get around to it. When are they going to actually look to replace the interim solicitor with a full-time solicitor and submit it for proposal? So based on that, I'm going to vote yes.
The motion does not pass.
Okay. Next agenda item, discuss educational opportunities for volunteer board members. This was requested by Ms. Ray. Barb?
This thing over here, right. Okay, so, yes, I had mentioned this months ago, I guess, when I was out on the floor, about training for board members, because at certain board meetings that I've attended, you could see that some of the members aren't really aware of some of the rules or some of the zoning information. And there is a lot of courses available all the time. So in particular, they put this in our packet for the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission, has a bunch of courses coming up that are appropriate for planning board members and zoning board members. And also, pretty much daily, the PSAT sends us an email, and there's usually always some sort of seminars and webinars mentioned on there as well. I don't think this information gets shared with people on these boards, though, so I think we should maybe make an effort to share this with board members, encourage them to attend. Most of the fees and costs for these are fairly nominal. And I do see in the budget, under zoning and planning, there is a line item in there for training and webinars, I think it was labeled. So we do have some budgets. I don't know that it ever gets used though for these other board members, so I would like to see us share this information, encourage those board members to attend some of these courses. It's the courses that we're taking right now with PSATs for boot camp, they call it, it is tremendously helpful. There's so much information. And getting to talk to other people on these boards in other communities, you can hear how did they handle this situation and what did they do. So it's very good information. Better than trying to learn, by sitting on the board and watching what the other people do, so.
I agree. Would that be a motion, Laura?
Yes.
I'll second that.
Can I just make
Can you
a
summarize that into a motion, though? And just make the motion to encourage and share information regarding educational training opportunities with our board members.
Okay. Other discussion, Jason?
Who seconded, sorry?
It appears to me that this Lehigh Valley Government Academy is an arm of Lehigh Valley Planning Commission. Lehigh Valley Planning Commission has taken positions with regard to Lower Saucon Township affairs that is ridiculous and adverse to Lower Saucon Township's interest. My concern is that if we pay for this sort of educational, quote, educational programming, it's really going to be indoctrination to their groupthink and their positions that are adverse to Lower Saucon Township taxpayer interests. So that causes me concern. I'd rather see, if we're going to be paying for something like this, I'd rather see our township insurer, the township interim solicitors, malpractice carrier, the township controllers insurer put on notice so that we have money to pay for these things and we're not paying for these things out of pocket. So that's my position on this.
Okay, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, some of these board appointees, if they don't have a lot of experience or background in the matter, I guess why were they appointed?
Politics.
Right, I mean, it's obviously politics. I mean, when we were in the majority, we appointed people that had a background. We appointed a guy named Doug Woosnam to our planning commission. He was an energy consultant, could help us really with what the landfill was doing with the methane and burning it off and putting it into a thing. He had an education, a background. He was removed. Some of these other panelists, I don't understand why, we have a new council, now all of a sudden there's a brain drain on all these committees, and we got to get them educated, because they didn't know, I guess, what they were getting into, or they didn't bring any expertise to the committee. I don't understand that. I mean, where are the resumes that these people who were appointed? Do the resumes show they had any interest, or is it just politics? Or any knowledge, or is it just politics? I'd like to see the resumes of some of these people that were appointed on January 2nd to some of these committees. And now why we have to educate them? We have to pay to educate them.
Okay, my turn. In the packet on the January 2nd meeting, if you go back to the board docs, you will see all the people that applied and with their letters of resumes and interests applied. And so it wasn't just a willy-nilly picking. So I also would like to say that I attended a boot camp last Saturday, and I've been on council for, I don't want to say how many years, but a long time, and I always walk away with something new that I learned that I didn't know before. And we're appointing residents to committees that have no clue what a municipal's planning code is, what our own administrative code is, and there's just a lot of regulations out there that they need to be updated on to be a better board member, and I'd like to support that, so. And I guess Victoria?
Just to be clear, the motion to encourage attendance, to notify attendance, and to also cover the expense of their attendance, it's all three, is that what the motion is?
Laura, do you want to amend your motion to include the cost? We didn't do that.
Yeah, well, I did mention there is a budgeted line item for training, so, I mean,
I'll amend my
not that I need to
second.
make a motion to cover that, because we have that.
How much is it?
Maybe it was, do you know, Kathy, 2,000, something like that.
The line item in the budget, not the
Yeah,
course.
line item in the budget. Yeah, these individual courses are, $100, or the webinar from PSATs that I saw was $35. So, I mean, they're not.
What's that? 1,200 was, Kathy says the budgeted amount is 12.
Okay, are you finished, Victoria?
I think it is a wonderful thing, so everybody understands. It looks like some of them are 3-day courses, some cover zoning administration, one covers subdivision and land development. So our zoning hearing board, our planning commission, all of those people, and which include both new members and members that have been on for years, that have been appointed by prior councils. I think it's important not only to understand their role in the governmental process, but also to be updated as laws change almost daily and information changes, and hopefully that will serve our township in a great way, and I hope that they will be able to attend.
Okay, Thank you. Laura, did you want to have anything to add before I open up to the floor?
I can only get one go around.
Yeah.
What's it?
I guess you get out, Laura gets to
No,
say.
no, no, no. We go back in the record, and whoever made the motion, I went back and asked you for some comments. So with that, I'm going to open it up to the floor.
Oh, good.
Oh, wait.
Girls first.
She's beating you.
Andrea Witchen. I have one question, Mr. Bononis and Mr. Carochi. What are you afraid of? People being educated on how to run a township? I've sat here through 2 meetings and listened to residents who have asked a very simple question. What can the township do for me to help me in this situation? And whether you're reading your phone or not, Mr. Croce, I will continue to speak. That's very rude. I don't let my children do that at the dining room table. They asked, what can the township do for me? And I have watched for 2 meetings now while all of the council has stumbled over the answer to that question. But whatever is in place right now, as far as the rules and the requirements for building houses, for having planning developments, for having septic systems, for zoning, all of those rules were put in place when you all, Mr. Carochi and Mr. Bononis, were in charge. So clearly, those commissions and those committees didn't know enough about what they were doing because there wasn't an easy answer for those poor residents who were getting screwed. You didn't know. And you didn't know because you don't know what you don't know. So I 100% suggest that we encourage all people who volunteer to take part in appropriate education. There is nothing to be feared by learning new information, unless, of course, you don't want to know. I would recommend that we not only encourage them, that we agree to pay for it, and then we also make it easy for them to find the information on how to go about doing that. Thank you.
Okay, next.
I'll tell you, I'm sorry, I don't want to wear out the microphone, I know I'm really close. I was on a planning board in New Jersey for 10 years. It was required before you could vote on that board that you take at least 6 months of courses at Rutgers University, and that's not sufficient. If you didn't pass, you didn't get on the board. All right? Well, if you're going to do something, Laura Ray, I would suggest what you do is mandate before you bring people on board that they already have that knowledge or at least the interest in it. What did I hear the other day? Gee, the Parks Commission's going to go out because nobody knows where the parks are. Oh, really? I mean, and I'm dumbfounded. And sometimes some of the statements made by certain council people flabbergast me in terms of their lack of understanding of what's going on. All right? And yes, I do think that this solicitor has some interesting comments to make, but I also agree, and I've hired plenty of people in my day, I don't take anybody that doesn't have a resume that's verifiable. I don't leave it to, well, I think they did this or that. No, no, no. You make the phone calls and you find out who it is, who they are, how they vote, how they performed, and are they going to be a detriment to the organization, or are they going to be, like Mark, really very, very good, solid person. There's somebody that should never leave this podium. That's the one. Anyhow, I'll leave that alone. Require it. Don't say, gee, we're having tea time, show up. That doesn't work. And by the way, I still haven't heard, this is wonderful, 3 minutes, still haven't heard from the EAC committee about this clear cutting of the entire slope of the mountain And yet we have 2 council members who have attended those meetings and we have no report. Hopefully, at the end of this meeting, we'll have one and we'll understand what went wrong and how we missed it, okay? Because that's an EAC event, for instance.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Jennifer Helton, and I just would like to say that everyone that is a professional has continuing education, and you can always learn, and that's how you keep your certification, your law degree. You have to do it every year. This is inappropriate to even say that we have to have resumes and check it. We have good, hardworking people on our committees, and I think it's important that we continue to educate, and I'm grateful for any bit of training I can get. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bob Glasgow, over Saucon Township. Mr. Carochi, you said you had a fellow that was doing so great that you guys appointed concerning odor control and working with the landfill. He did such a great job that the DEP was having to respond to odor complaints constantly. It's also been reported that one of the meetings that you chaired or oversaw or went to, when things were presented, the people that you two had appointed knew so little about it that you had to lead them and coach them, explain things all the way through. That's the great knowledge they had already when they went into positions. And as far as the cutting goes, that's already been checked into, and that's regulated by the Pennsylvania state, not EAC, excuse me, Pennsylvania Commonwealth is actually more correct.
Okay, thank you. Are you on your way back? Come on. Oh, okay. All right, we have a motion on the floor. Can we, what was the motion on the floor?
Training for board members.
Right.
Mr. Croce, how do you vote?
For the $1,200 is budgeted, yes, if it goes over that, I'd like to know about it.
Ms. Rex?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Bonones?
You know, the township is blessed to have some highly competent people, but yet this council has not availed itself of those people with a skill set that matches the township's needs, and that's really a disservice to the township. To respond to Ms. Witchin, you said there are people here asking what the township can do for me. How about ask not what the township can do for me? What can you do for me? I'm going to vote no, because I think that this council has made a travesty of the committees and the people that they've put on there that do not have the competency and qualifications, or even the baseline competency and qualifications that this training or indoctrination will allow them to get up to speed.
Ms. Hopkins-Vidar?
I'm going to vote yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, then we have the approval of the January 17, 2024 council minutes.
Motion to approve.
Okay, Jason. Is there a second? I'll second. We don't do public comment for that. We do public comment for minutes. Roll call, please.
Ms. Wright, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Bonones?
There was no public comment on the minutes. We've always had public comment on the minutes.
Okay.
In fact, I recall there's certain individuals in the audience now who have stood up and said that there were inaccuracies in the minutes.
Ms. Witchin would always stand up.
Mr.
Ms.
Gitsuzi
Witchin would stand up, say her name spelled wrong,
Hold
we always had comments on the minutes.
And Mr. Gitsuzi just told, and I'm sitting here, and this may not come out of the record, but Mr. Gitsuzi just said to Mrs. De Leon that there's no need for public comment,
Right.
which is incorrect.
Right.
It's incorrect.
We've always had. It is incorrect. What if someone in the audience was misquoted?
Public comment for the January 17 minutes.
Amateur.
Anybody would like to speak? No? Okay, roll call, please.
I'm going to start again.
Yes,
Ms. Wright?
please.
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Bonones?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins-Vidar?
Yes.
Mr. Croce?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next, we have the January 24th council minutes. Is there a motion for approval?
Make a motion.
Second. And can we have any council discussion? Public comment period? Can we have a roll call, please?
Ms. D. Lamb, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Southdown?
Yes.
Mr. Croce?
Yes.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, we have the January 2024 financial reports. They're ready for council review. I'll make a motion to approve the January 2024 financial reports. Would there be a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any council discussion?
I think it's inappropriate for this council to vote on financial reports that are based upon an illegally and improperly enacted amended budget. Again, there were knowing inaccuracies in the proposed budget, and the proposed budget also held in reserves greater than 25%, as I talked about several times tonight. I think any action to approve financial reports based upon an illegal budget is improper.
Okay, Tom?
Yes, for comment?
Council discussion, I'm following the rules here.
Good. Should follow the rules like me. I have no comment.
Okay, Victoria?
No comment.
Laura? No comment. Yeah, I have no comment either. Public comment? Anybody out there? Okay, seeing none, let's have a roll call, please.
Mr. Benonis, how do you vote?
No.
Ms. Southdown?
Yes.
Mr. Croce?
No.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
And Ms. D. Lamb?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, next we have Township Manager Report. Mark?
The only thing I have to say is the Public Works guys did a great job. The last two rounds, we've had two winter storms since our last meeting. The guys have done a lot of work, got the roads cleaned up for all of our residents. I want to give kudos to our Public Works crew. Also, we had the steps done in the parking lot. It's still a work in process, but we've removed the rickety wooden steps and we've replaced those with concrete. So in the near future, you'll be able to use those.
Okay, Jason?
Yeah, I'd just like to recognize the Saucon Valley High School basketball team. They played in the Colonial League semifinals, lost a nail biter at the buzzer by 1 point, but they are in the district playoffs. I believe they play on Saturday, so get out and support the local high school's basketball team. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, Tom?
Yes, a couple of things. First, not only did your fire tax go up with this new council and your real estate taxes go up, but now your water taxes are going up. This council appoints the board of the Lower Saucon Authority, who has voted to raise, we're calling it, let's see, the authority will increase the quarterly sewer charge for all classes of service from $90 to $105. They're saying that this increase is made necessary by an increase in cost, covering both normal operations and maintenance. That's one of the reasons. I was the liaison to the Lower Saucon Authority for the past 4 years. I'm not anymore.
Who is?
It's a good question. I don't know.
Victoria?
Victoria, are you the Lower Saucon Authority liaison?
I might recall from the January 2nd meeting that she had.
She won't answer, I guess.
She accepted that.
She won't answer. Which is odd. Anyway, the other reason was a rate increase as the construction of our new pump station on Route 412. The pump station will, when completed, will better serve the Creekside market along Route 412. Now, this project has been 20 years in the planning. It's been delayed the past 5 to 10 years because Bill Ross and George Grass, who's the chair of the Saucon Authority, made a terrible decision to wait for the Meadows Bridge for PennDOT and the county to build the Meadows Bridge before doing the pump station. And the costs have gone through the roof on it. I think it's almost double PennDOT told them to basically build the pump station wherever you want, and if they needed anything moved during the construction of the Meadows Bridge, that PennDOT would reimburse them for those costs. So the costs had to be incurred and do that, and that was part of the thing. But no, they decided to wait, and of course, with inflation and cost over the past 5 years, this project, I think, has almost doubled in cost since then, because of the decision of Bill Ross and George Kress. The liaison is not a voting member of the authority, so only the appointees by this council are voting members. But that is why you're getting a $15 a quarter increase in your sewage charge.
Almost 70%, Tom.
Yes. Also, in December meeting, I had Chief Barn here to talk about our police who were asked to cover Hellertown. Hellertown didn't have coverage one day, so they called the state police to get coverage. And then, even though Chief Barn wouldn't really admit it, but you know, we were the backup coverage for Hellertown for a whole day. If we weren't, the interim Hellertown police chief wouldn't have had to call our chief to tell him that he'd requested state police service for the day because they didn't have people to work. And Chief Barton would have had to communicate that to the officers on duty that day if there wasn't any expectation that we would be helping out. And it appears that things down there have gotten a little bit worse with the interim chief. According to an article on the Saucon Voice, members of the Hellertown Police Association spoke publicly at Borough Council meeting this week to express a lack of confidence in interim chief Dominic Fergana. Fergana was named the interim chief in late 2023 following the resignation and subsequent criminal charges filed against former Hellertown chief Robert Shook. This Officer Donato for the association said, "Good evening, my name is Officer John Donato, current president of the Hellertown Police Association. The Hellertown Police Association took an official vote which resulted in unanimously that the members of our organization have no confidence in the interim chief, Dominic Vergana. The Hellertown Police Association is available for further discussion and details regarding this vote." Borough Council then went into executive session, and when they came out, the mayor, who, you have to remember, the Shook is accused of criminal charges of stealing money from the borough all the way back to 2015, from 2015 to 2023. So for 8 years it went undetected by Mayor Heinzelman, Kathy Hartgraft, Tom Rieger, so you know they're right on the ball there. 8 years this guy's stealing money, according to the indictment, the criminal complaint. They have Mayor Heinzelman says, "We have complete confidence in Dominic Fergana, the individual appointed as interim chief of police, and they're currently conducting an assessment of the police department by an outside group. As part of the process, they will interview every officer, and they decided to stick with it. But they're not, you know, they're using police, state police service at least one time in November. Mark Hudson, are you aware of any other time since December that they've notified us that they were going to police state coverage instead of local coverage? Anytime in January or February so far?
I think there was one evening right in that same time period, but
I think it was December, January, February? December, January?
December.
So at least twice, they've notified us, at least twice. So you know, you're not the police chief.
No, correct.
At least twice. Our tax dollars have had to be used to cover Hellertown because they can't get the officers to show up. And the officers that do work there have voted unanimously with no confidence in the interim chief. So I hope we can be mindful of our police officers putting Lower Saucon Township first. I know they will, and I know Chief Bark will. I just don't know what outside pressure they'll receive from members of this council our solicitor and possibly our township manager to lend a helping hand, another Hellertown handout, if you will. So hopefully that won't happen, but I'd like to monitor that. And I would like you to report to council when that happens, Mr. Hudson. And, let's see, there was one other thing. Oh, had to do with Cap. You gave us a breakdown of the solicitor invoice breakdown, right? Solicitor invoice breakdown? Okay. Jason made a right-to-know request, and I've had a chance to look at some of them. Our permanent solicitor that lasted 16 days was doing work for the township in November and December of 2023. He prepared a resolution for the January 2nd meeting. This was according to Mark Hudson. And we had emails back and forth with him and Priscilla and other members of council where he is preparing to work. So he wasn't voted on yet, it wasn't appointed yet. Where are his invoices on this solicitor invoice breakdown?
We have not received any invoices from him.
You've not received any invoices from him from at all? Okay. Okay. So all of these solicitor invoices, I mean, how they're links? Okay.
Yeah, that's 2023 breakdown.
What's that?
Eckert Stevens as well.
And right, and
That's
that's
2023 summer.
right. It's 2023 summary, but the email showed that the coordination between the three Democratic members of council, because two of them weren't sworn in at that time, and this Mark Freed, and him doing work before he was appointed solicitor. And I guess my question is, if that is billed for, how would that be handled? He wasn't hired by anybody yet, but he was being assigned work by Priscilla in emails and did work. He did work in preparation for the January 2nd meeting. I believe he sent a resolution or an ordinance change. What was that, Mark?
He sent a resolution for the public comment, but we have not received a bill from Mr. Freed or he thank you.
Well, if we do, I'd like to know about it. I'd like to know how we're paying somebody who wasn't approved to work on behalf of the township prior to January 2nd.
If we receive a bill, we'll bring it to you.
That's all I ask. You bring it to my attention. I thought it was very shady of Priscilla to do that. All right, that's all I had. It's been fun.
Victoria?
Yes, I wanted to say number one, I want to say thank you to our Public Works Department. Again, what Mark said about all the cleaning. I can say I went to a training on Saturday with some other members of council, and it was very nice to see that the roads were cleared in time in the morning for me to get to about a 35-minute drive outside of the township early in the morning. So I do appreciate that. I also had the opportunity to attend the Water Authority meeting yesterday, which was, I thought, very productive, and it was very nice to see everybody there. So again, thank all the volunteers for that. I also just want to highlight for the residents in this financial report that we got, it's my understanding that Hellertown Area Library legal expenses between December 1st, 2022 up through the end of December 2023 total $200,409.63, my understanding. That includes Eckert Siemens, which is, as you heard the motion earlier this evening, I've been told to cease and desist right now. And I think that the amount of money we spent on that could have been used to help our library services, help obtain good library services, and help our community moving forward. And I'm saddened to see that we spent that much money on attorneys. It's always been my hope that it's always been my hope as an attorney that I could do something to help the community, and I hope to continue doing that as a new member of council here, and use my legal skills to help you and furthering what the community would like to see. So So I want everybody to understand that we've spent over $200,000. There may be additional bills from Edward Siemens that come in for work they did in January up through today, and whatever miscellaneous may be needed to communicate to the court system. But I think it's very important that everybody hear that. That's all my comment.
Thank you. Laura?
And we offered $250,000 to Town Library, they rejected it, so.
Laura, it's your turn.
Come for the cover.
You know what?
So,
It's not anybody's turn except Laura's.
a couple of
It's not
comments.
my turn?
I'll speak a little bit about the logging that Mr. Boulon brought up and EAC's involvement, which we really don't have any control anymore. We used to have very good regulations about forestry and logging. However, a few years ago, and I don't know when, the state regulations came into play, and now these logging permits get issued by the Conservation District, the Northampton County Conservation District, and they approve them. So they send us a copy of the plan and tell us what they're doing, but we don't have any say in telling them to do less. We did have the zoning officer, I believe, and probably Mr. Hudson went out when all the water runoff was happening to inspect and make report if the regulations were being followed that the Conservation District have. And then that's all we could do on that. The EAC really can't do anything. We can't re-up our zoning regulations that we used to have on logging because the state took that out of our hands. I also want to mention, so this month we had our EAC meeting canceled because that was a snowy day, and I just wondered if maybe there was a possibility that we could, and I don't know how we would do it, but have option for doing Zoom meetings sometimes when it's a case like that. Hopefully we won't have a situation with snow again for the rest of the year, but I know one night we had a rain situation where we got canceled out too. So it'd be nice to have that option so that we wouldn't just have to drop everything. In this case, I think on our agenda, we were going to be looking at the application for the development at the Buffalo Farm. I guess they're calling it the Buffalo Development Center. So we actually missed our turn on that, so it kind of worked out good, I guess, that it got pulled off the agenda by the applicant, so we'll have another shot to at least give our input and review those plans. At our training session on Saturday, somebody brought up the fact that May 4th is International Firefighter Appreciation Day. We thought maybe we could possibly do something to recognize our volunteer firefighters on that day. No particular idea, but maybe I'll bring it up at Parks and Rec when I attend their meeting.
What day is that, Laura?
May 4th.
This Saturday.
It's on a Saturday. And let's see if I think those were all my reports for tonight.
That's it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I attended a boot camp, which is 2 out of the 3 sessions on this past Saturday. This coming up Saturday, there's another one. They're very beneficial, so I really always walk away with something that I didn't know. So then I also want to let everybody know that I support the spirit of the right to know law and the public's right to obtain information from governmental agencies. I know how frustrated I felt as a resident prior to the law in trying to obtain information. I want the public to know that the township has been inundated with a voluminous amount of right-to-know requests, which requires our administration to spend time reviewing these documents, spending your tax dollars to provide the requested information. In my opinion, attempt to paralyze the township and their duties. I feel this is an abuse of public resources. Since January 2nd, 2024, the day the new council majority was sworn in, Mr. Bononis submitted to the township a total of 940 right-to-know requests. Right to know 1821 was 469 pages, which about 116 were directed at me, which I didn't have a problem with. Right to know request 1829 was 306 pages, and about 77 were for me. Right to know request 1831, 141 pages, and 41 were directed to me. Right to know 1832 was 24 pages, about 7 were directed to me. I have performed a good faith search for responsive records in my personal accounts regarding my specific right to know requests for 1821, 1829, 1831, 1832, which I sent and forwarded to Carol at the township. I have complied with all the requests and have done so to the best of my knowledge and belief after reasonable investigation. I am doing my job as an elected official, and obviously the voters thought so this past election. I also feel that the public should know how a certain council member, Mr. Bononis, is spending tax dollars under the guise of the public right of the right to know law. In speaking with staff at the PA Office of Open Records, they were unaware of another state agency receiving that many right to know requests from one person. I will continue working to restore library services, proper oversight of the landfill, and balancing proper zoning to the needs of the residents while balancing their quality of life. So, with that, move on to solicitor.
No report.
Engineer, he snuck out, okay. And now we open it to public comment. So, would somebody, go ahead.
Yeah, when you get
I know
up to
Mr. Ballon was last, so.
This is for you, Mark. Diane Hollowell, Highland Drive. Just real quick, I put in, you were upset your tax dollars were going to Hellertown? Well, I really didn't appreciate my $50,000 of tax dollars going to another county. All right, Mark, you don't have to read my letter because I am here tonight because we're not here till 2. The following is a letter I submitted to the Morning Call. Unfortunately, it didn't get published before this meeting, so I'd like to read it for the record. And this is my 200 words. If you are looking for some good entertainment, Abbott and Costello style, please watch Lower Saucon Township meetings on YouTube. Since the 3 new council members who won by a huge majority of votes have been in office, the remaining 2 have turned these meetings into a clown show. No respect when citizens talk. Eye rolls, shuffling of paper, interrupting others. They are the definition of a bully and a sore loser. Our township deserves better. Under their old leadership, they have left a record of destroying the once mutual partnership between Hellertown and Lower Saucon. We lost a library and a compost center. They pushed for a bigger landfill, and they gave us a $3 million ball field. And to quote one of the losers, stop wasting everyone's time and money. Taxpayers deserve better. He just needs to follow his own advice. An 8-hour-long meeting, they set a record. It was amusing that they walked out when the ladies who won that election by a landslide were sharing residents' emails. It is apparent that they cannot accept the election results, and they will do whatever they can to cause disruption. We deserve better. Bring popcorn if you attend a meeting, because it's a circus. You too, now that was the end of my letter, you two must have been fuming after the ladies won the landslide election. And not to get political, but I couldn't believe how many Republicans in Saucon Terrace and those on Alice Drive voted for the ladies. And to those of you watching at home, you want to know where your tax dollars are going? It's right here. Since I'm a visual person, this one ream of paper is 500 sheets. These 2 reams now represent the over 900 sheets of paper that were sent to the township by Mr. Bononis for right-to-know requests. And yes, he has that right, but it just gives the appearance of a little child not getting her way. Your family must be very proud of you. So instead of our township manager working on things to better our township, he is working against a timeline to go through 900 pages of requests. Please just get over it and stop acting like a child, and to quote you, Mr. Bononis, grow up.
And for Mr. Carochi, you are a fine example to our junior councilman. I'm so glad he's not here to hear you call Miss De Leon a dictator, and how many times did you say Nazi tonight?
Gavel Nazi, and thank you.
Yeah, yes.
Thank you.
You are such a, oh my gosh. We have to take TikToks of this and post it and see how many hits we can get. And as Mr. Bononis would quote, if you have any shred of dignity, and I'll end with, if you do have any shred of dignity, you would step down and let the position be filled by township residents who want to better this community. And Mr. Hudson, I'll leave these here for you because you probably need it. It's gonna give you more.
All right, does anybody else want to go? Because okay, one more person. I promised you last.
Hi, Bob McKellen, Lower Saucon Township. First of all, I want to thank the guys that plowed our streets too. They did a good job. We had a tree down. We had power out for about 10 hours. It got hooked again. And one of the boxes on the thing, Mark, I don't know if you have any way to get a hold of people, but they left the electrical box wide open with the weather coming tomorrow.
Can you email me where?
Yeah, it's right on University Avenue. I want to read an email that Mr. Bononis didn't read tonight that I sent to him on December 7th. Hello, Jason. From the December 6th council meeting, I have a question on the Steel Club tax revenue to be generated in the future when all 159 units are occupied. Just to be clear, you stated that the total property values would be between $100 and $125 million, and this would generate $3.75 million in township tax dollars. I went back and watched 3 or 4 times just to make sure I was right. Help me understand how you calculated this number. If my math is correct, and I believe it is, this means that each unit in the Steel Club housing project would be paying approximately $23,000 annually in township taxes. Since this was put out there on YouTube on the township, to all the township residents, maybe a correction at the next meeting would be appropriate. In reality, the total taxes generated would probably be under $200,000. Thank you for reading my concern, Bob McKellen, Lower Saucon Township resident. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Does anyone else want to go before I open it up to Mr. Goulan?
I'd like to ask Mr. McKellen for clarification. Sir, can you cite to me the page and line number of the council meeting minutes from that meeting where I said that the taxes were Lower Saucon Township local taxes?
Go to about minute 52 of the minutes, and you'll see it on YouTube, and I went back and forth, and that's exactly what you said. You didn't say what your friends at Saucon Voice said, where they said township, school taxes, all that.
So there's multiple taxes, as you probably know. There's county tax, there's school district taxes,
You
there's
said
local
township
taxes.
tax only, that's all you mentioned. And you can go and look, anybody in the room, anybody listening, go to about minute 50, between 50 and 55.
So you'd agree with me that taxes that would be paid by a property in the township to the county would be Lower Saucon taxes. You'd agree with me also the taxes that are paid to the school district would be Lower Saucon taxes. And you'd also agree with me that taxes that are paid to the municipality would be Lower Saucon taxes, right?
You also said in there.
Do you agree with me? That's my only question. I'm trying to clarify and understand what you're saying.
I'll tell you what you said. You said, in fact, the other part of your question or answer was that that was going to be a third or more of the total taxes that Lower Saucon gets.
Lower
Look
Saucon
at that up too.
Township.
You said that to Mr. Spurk at that meeting.
Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. But that's why I'm surprised you didn't even bring it up later. You read everybody else's emails. Why not that one?
Well, sir, you weren't bringing up something that was on the agenda here. That was something that happened before. Right?
That was in December.
I was going to say it the last time, but I didn't.
I'm sorry that this is so important to you that we're talking about it 2.5 months later, but I'll take a look at that. Thank you.
Why did you show up at the December 20th meeting?
Okay, Mr. Goulan, you want to go up now?
Not really,
Okay.
All going?
I teach. I gotta get to school.
Huh?
I'll watch you when I'm driving home.
Oh, thank you. Fine. You don't.
You kind of live near me too.
Dave Goulan, I'm the one on Alice Drive that she refers to. Thank you very much for having me.
Please address your comments to the chair. Your comments have to be
No,
addressed
sure.
to the chair.
Oh, okay. So, let's see, I have a few things I'd like to talk about. By the way, yes, I did see the lower Saucon tax bill going up 17%. And I did notice, by the way, I do listen to the meetings, I do attend them, I do my homework here. I did understand that the county and the state were gonna help pay for the destruction of the sewage line or whatever over there where the bridge went out. And by the way, I hope that goes back someday. I also did notice that's gonna benefit Hellertown. I didn't realize that Lower Saucon Authority also serves Hellertown. I guess it does. I also learned, although indirectly, that maybe one of our council people, although not acknowledging so directly, did attend those meetings, and maybe, it's a phantom person so far, maybe the Lower Saucon Authority representatives. Boy, that's transparency there. Okay, let's get to the real heart of the matter. I'm still interested very much in this issue of the problem of people on the council speaking out when their property is directly involved. And you know who we're talking about here. What really bothers me, though, is that the two letters to the Committee on Ethics, two letters, okay? I was told there was only one, and I asked for the letter that the sender sent to the Ethics Committee so I could see what the request was, but I was not given that. I was told no. And as a matter of fact, when I asked for the first letter back from the Ethics Committee, it was no. And I asked Mark, could I get it? And he said he did not have it, as best I can recall. Let's move on. Showed up the other day, and now there's two letters from the Ethics Committee saying no conflict of interest. But then, as the meeting moves along, there's a few questions about, well, is this ethical or not for somebody who has a conflict, doesn't want a certain thing, to stand up and talk about it ad nauseum. And so here we are. Now, all of a sudden, there's a direct handoff of the gavel to a solicitor that's not fully invested in some shape. We're still trying to determine what his status was. She gives that to him to run the meeting. Oh, this is wonderful. Not an elected official. She, the president, doesn't hand it off to she, the vice president, but instead gives it to the attorney, who we already believe there may be a problem there. So what's going on here? You looking at each other. Oh, that's cute. I thought you were supposed to pay attention to me and give me some kind of honesty, transparency. It's not happening. Whatever this woman said, okay? Yes, I live on Alice Drive. Come on over. My shotgun loves, Maggie loves to see people that know. All right, so that's one thing. Gee, there's so many things.
Did you just say shotgun?
Did you just say shotgun?
Did you just threaten somebody?
You want people to see your shotgun?
Yes.
What shotgun?
Yes, you did.
We all heard
You
it.
just said that.
You just said it.
Here today, Maggie.
Shotgun.
See, there we go. You don't shut down people, just let them talk. You can always find a way not to pay attention to me and pay attention to
No,
your
I
supporters.
was asking a question. We heard you say the word shotgun.
Yeah, it's a dance. It's called the shotgun. Tuesday nights, Allentown Swing Dance. Come out, do the shotgun.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Gee, what happened to your childhood? Now, I've only got 59 minutes, okay? See how that goes? So the bottom line is, there we go for Lower Saucon. Yeah, Croce stole my stuff, whatever that was. But what I really wanted to look at is, again, I never did get an answer. I know it's hard to see. That's what I got from Miss Hill or whatever. Okay, and the numbers show on the year, the proposed general millage and the fire tax. And what we see, 2017, the total was, and this is not the last administration, was 539, and that wasn't enough, so they upped it to 589, and that wasn't enough, so in 2019 they boosted it to 639 and held it constant before the past administration stepped in, and it dropped to 514. and remained 514 for 3 and now 4 years. So, the thing that bothers me is the additional $9 million that this township has gathered, even at a low rate of 514. Remember, from 2017 to 2020, you have to do a visual because somehow or another I'm not allowed to show slides, okay? Although we can be bantered and beaten to death for 30 minutes about slides about the cost of housing around a certain tower or whatever, or was it the landfill? It gets confusing, same crew. Bottom line is 539, 589, 639, 639. Now we're down to 514. There's a surplus of $9 million. And by the way, we just settled the lawsuit with Hal. I wonder how Judge Daly's gonna like that. Oh, he's probably, you guys are all friends. Doesn't much matter, does it? So we spent all this money, and with one stroke of the pen, this council and an attorney over here isn't willing to see the outcome of this, although as far as I can see, and yes, I have read Judge Daly's decisions, I do follow it, unlike probably some other people on this council who, whatever, just sort of listen to everybody else. And yes, back in September, he ruled clearly, you have 45 days to turn that over. Did it happen? No. Sorry, Judge, not gonna happen. And here we have a 501c3, they want, at the time, $150,000. Well, I'll tell you, 4 years ago when I'm in this council, and these people weren't here, I think Ms. DeLeon, you were running it. It was late in December, and in comes, well, you should remember it, because you brought in the How people who came and sat at this table, looked at the council, and in effect said, it was the last thing, we want $150,000 to join the library again. And one person, I think it was Jason, said to the attorney, who was Link, has anybody seen this? And the answer was no. Okay, well, don't you think before we commit $150,000, I saw you looking, $150,000, that we ought to have somebody look at like the attorney? Yes, I know I'm over my budget, okay? You know, you think people don't see and know, all right? I know it's tough when it's on your end that you're getting it, but I would simply say, they came in and demanded it then. That's what started the clock, and Hal has not cooperated since. 501c3 can't show their taxes. Why? Can't give us a seat. Lower Saucon had no seat on in that committee, and yet we're going to spend $150,000. And then we find out very simply that for 1 year, any resident of Lower Saucon could go to Hellertown and for $40 pick up a library pass and do anything they wanted to, bring it back, get fully reimbursed, and what did that cost our township? $10,000. Not $150,000, $10,000. And yet all of these people here are so happy. Well, gee, I'd like to put some of the burden on them and let them pay the $150,000. So I, who have no kids, I who go to the Bethlehem Library, who, by the way, 12 years prior to that, you said over your dead body we were never going to that little Hal library. You did, didn't you? Yeah, I see you shaking. Okay, but here we are, and now you're fighting tooth and nail to make sure Judge Daly and all his legal people and all of that money that was spent, it's a blackboard, you just erase it, it never happened. And you, lawyers, some of you, just go right along with that like it doesn't matter. Yeah, you can do it, you're politicos. There's a lot of corruption, we see it every day on the TV. No, my son didn't do it. Okay, so no, I'm not pleased, and I really ask you, do not let this attorney tell everybody everything's hunky-dory, because it's not. This is going to get around even to the people on Alice Drive. But thank you.
Mr. Coburn,
Okay, thank you.
thanks for talking about the Coburn.
Okay, I'm just gonna ask one more time, is there anybody else out there that would like to speak? Okay, with that then, I guess we're at the adjournment time. Is there a motion for adjournment?
I make motion.
Okay, Victoria, Laura, is that a second? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes, and the time is 10:11 PM.
Thank you, everyone.
Be a breakfast.